Chapter 1273. After returning to his own summit, Shao Chun continued to comprehend the saber domain. He kept feeling that this saber domain contained many mysteries. Even Senior Lan Chaofeng probably had not completely comprehended it yet. Many things were still vague to him. Ao Jiao, don't you think that Senior Lan Chaofeng's understanding of the saber domain is not that incredible? Senior Lan said that the saber domain was about the word domain. That was the right direction. However, Shao Qin felt that aside from the domain, the saber was equally important, perhaps even more so. If it were anyone else, they would definitely not dare to doubt their predecessors. However, Shao Qin was different. He had never been someone who only followed the path of others. Ao Jiao had followed the Thunder King, Sang Mu. Sang Mu could even comprehend the innate thunder crystal. Naturally, he comprehended the sword domain. Hence, Ao Jiao had some understanding of this. Actually, Shao Chun, think about it. Look at the entire Kunlun realm. Consider the entire Kunlun realm, the vast oceanic world, the Kunlun continent, the ancient races living on the other planets, and so on. Adding everything together, how many Emperor Wu do you think there are? Shao Chun had not thought about this problem in detail. It was not easy to become an Emperor Wu. However, once one became an Emperor Wu, they would be able to live for at least 2,000 years. How long was 2,000 years? During this time, many Emperor Wu would be born. There would also be some greater heavenly Emperor Wu and sovereign martial emperors who lived even longer. It would not be strange for them to live for 5,000 years. Adding all this up, the Kunlun realm should have more Emperor Wu than Shao Chun imagined. After all, there were just the 5 major races of the Kunlun continent. Aside from the corpse race and the ghost race, the other 3 races had populations in the tens of billions. However, no matter how many there were, they would not be that many. The threshold of the Great Tribulation of Wind and Fire was still there. Shao Chun estimated the number of Emperor Wus in the Kunlun realm. Including those old monsters who had lived for thousands of years, there would not be more than 3,000. This was the highest estimate. Perhaps even fewer, less than 2,000, or a little more than 1,000. Of course, all of these were just guesses. Shao Chun would only know the real answer when he became Emperor Wu. There were tens of billions of people, and Emperor Wu only had 3,000. With such a comparison, one could see why Emperor Wu had always been so high and mighty. Ao Jiao continued, let's go with the maximum that you mentioned. Of the 3,000 martial emperors, how many can comprehend a domain? Shao Chun frowned and replied, I'm afraid there are only about 100 people. After saying that, Shao Chun came to a sudden realization. How could such a small group of people possibly have such a thorough understanding of the various domains? Perhaps all his doubts could only be answered after he left the land of exile. Right now, although Shao Chun had not advanced to martial emperor and had not reached the level of a peak expert like the Haotian Prime or the Flame Rock Sovereign, he was still a martial emperor. However, this was the first time he felt the restrictions of the Kunlun realm on him. He felt helpless, hating the heavens for being too low. As Shao Chun comprehended at the summit, a storm brewed. In the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace, the Western Sea Dragon King, who was a sovereign martial emperor, was the first to receive news of Shao Chun's intention to re-establish the Dragon's Gate before all the Holy Land's masters. Re-establishing the Dragon's Gate in my Western Sea? Where am I? My wild ambitions are finally exposed. Rumble. Waves surged for 50 kilometers around the Western Divine Dragon Palace, and tsunamis surged. A red dragon image could be vaguely seen in the sky, roaring furiously. The Dragon King is angry. When all the affiliated islands of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace saw this mysterious phenomenon, they all revealed horrified expressions. The Western Sea Dragon King had retired for many years already. All the affairs of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace, big or small, were managed by the 3 vice palace masters. Ordinary people had not seen the Western Sea Dragon King for many years already. In the most extravagant palace of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace, the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang sat on the throne in the middle with a scarily sullen expression. In the palace, the 3 vice-palace masters and 10-odd martial emperor elders all sat upright and still, not daring to breathe too loudly. In Ao Lang's memory, the old Dragon King rarely got angry. This time, he was truly angry. In the vast palace, an old man lowered his body and said something in a soft voice. This person was the old man that Shao Chen forced back that day, the hidden pawn that the Western Sea Dragon King planted in Heaven Dragon City. This old man had the family name Zhong. At this moment, he lowered his head, not daring to look at the Western Sea Dragon King. Continue. What else did he say? That inexperienced brat, with just a little bit of success, he soared to the sky. Ao Lang continued with a sullen expression. Old Zhong thought for a while before continuing. That brat said that he would welcome the Dragon King and many other holy lords to watch the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony, and that he would give you the highest treatment. Humph! Ao Lang smacked the armrest heavily, unable to suppress his rage. He stood up and said, "What, the highest treatment? I'll go and meet this brat. Let's see what kind of treatment he will give me." Normally, Ao Lang was not in the Divine Dragon Palace. He spent his time adventuring in the starry heavens, seeking breakthroughs. This time, he received an urgent request from the 3 vice-palace masters, so he rushed back reluctantly. Originally, he thought that it was nothing major. Unexpectedly, not only did the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace get overtaken by a Heaven Dragon City, but a youth even beat up one of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's martial emperor elders silly. The more ridiculous thing was yet to come. This inexperienced brat actually dared to say that he wanted to re-establish the Dragon's Gate. This was simply infuriating. The 3 greater heavenly Emperor Wu's vice-palace masters quickly stood up. At the same time they advised, "Big brother, you can't do that. You can't do that." The few of them knew that this big brother of theirs was famous for his fiery temper. When he did things, he rarely considered the consequences. Indeed, when the 3 vice-palace masters heard that Shao Chen wanted to re-establish the Dragon's Gate, they immediately had an impulse to charge over personally. How could that do? If it were that simple, the various holy lords would not have been helpless against Shao Chen until now. One should not forget that the one behind Shao Chen was the Thunder King. Aside from the Thunder King, there was also the Haotian Prime. If the Western Sea Dragon King went over, he probably would not be able to teach Shao Chen a lesson. Instead, the Thunder King would teach him a lesson. The 3 vice-palace masters stated the pros and cons, trying to dissuade the rash Western Sea Dragon King. Ao Lang waved his hand and said, "Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I know how horrifying the Thunder King is. I just want to see what kind of person the descendant of the famous Qing Emperor is." The moment Ao Lang said that, the 3 vice-palace masters heaved a sigh of relief. This made sense. After all, Ao Lang was an overlord-class character. No matter how angry he was, he would not act rashly. "The 3 of you, split up and go to the Southern Sea Divine Dragon Palace, the Northern Sea Divine Dragon Palace, and the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace. This time, not only do I want to gather all of Neptune's old subordinates, but also the various holy lands. I want to suppress them with power." When the others heard that, their expressions changed slightly. "Big brother, that is not good, right? After the various holy lands receive the news, I believe that they will not be able to hold themselves back. However, no matter who it is, they will not be willing to take the lead. After all, the bird that sticks out gets shot. If the Thunder King comes to settle scores after this, we will be the first to suffer." A gleam flashed in Ao Lang's eyes. He said, "How can I not understand such a simple principle? However, now that things have reached this point, do you think I have any other choice? If this fellow were not in the Western Sea, I would not be taking the lead. Cut the crap. Just do as I say and do it quickly. After the various factions of Heavenly Star Island arranged for Emperor Wu to return, the many immortal Holy Lands and ancient noble clans received news of Shao Qin wanting to re-establish the Dragon's Gate within one day. The upper echelons of the Lunar Palace, the Zodiac Hall, the Heavenly Province Academy, the Yinyang Paradise, the Myriad Fiend Island, and the 5 Poison Sect gathered together with grave expressions. The upper echelons of the Zodiac Hall and Heavenly Province Academy, who already had enmity with Shao Qin, were enraged. Back then, the prestige of the Dragon's Gate was so great that every Holy Land had records of it. Regardless of which Holy Land it was, no one was willing to see the Dragon's Gate reappear. What really worried people was the fear that Shao Qin would become the second Qing Emperor. Tens of thousands of years ago, the Qing Emperor had said, Shao Qin will become the second Qing Emperor. Then, the immortal Holy Land, the Minor Thunder Temple, was destroyed in an instant, and all of its inheritances were severed. None of the Holy Lands were willing to see such a tragedy happen to them. However, the upper echelons of the various Holy Lands did not have a good idea as to how to stop Shao Qin. All of them felt a headache. One day later, the news of the Blue Dragon King wanting to re-establish the Dragon's Gate spread throughout the entire Heavenly Starry Ocean, inciting many cultivators to discuss it. Anyone with some common sense would know what kind of risk this would entail and how furious the upper echelons of the Holy Lands would be. Along with this news came another rumor. The Blue Dragon King, Shao Qin, personally killed a martial emperor elder of the 5 Poison Sect before tens of thousands of cultivators. After the 4 Seas hero gathering, Shao Qin, who had fallen silent in the Heavenly Starry Ocean, became the focus of everyone's discussion once again. When the outstanding talents, who were waiting for Shao Qin to become a meteor, heard this news, they all turned ashen and dispirited. Before advancing to martial emperor, Shao Qin could already kill a bona fide Emperor Wu. Even if he became a meteor, Shao Qin would definitely be the most resplendent meteor in the history of the entire Kunlun realm. 2 days later, the news spread throughout the entire oceanic world. The major factions of the Black Sea, the Human Demon Sea, the Dragon Grave Sea, the Storm Sea, and the Ice Sea all heard of it. When the Lunar Palace's holy daughter, Yu Bingyun, who was searching for the 10,000-year-old ice lotus in the Ice Sea, heard this news, she was stunned. He is too rash. How can he decide to re-establish the Dragon's Gate at this time? Without hesitation, Yu Bingyun immediately put down what she was doing and rushed to the Lunar Palace. All she wanted was to return quickly and see if she could influence the Lunar Palace's attitude. Given her position as the next palace master of the Lunar Palace, she should be able to put in some words. If the re-establishment of the Dragon's Gate failed, Shao Qin's luck would be greatly affected. Yu Bingyun could not help but worry. 3 days later, the news spread to the Kunlun continent. All the peak factions of the 5 domains were set abuzz. Compared to the factions of the Heavenly Starry Ocean, these Kunlun continent factions were much more at ease. After all, Heaven Dragon City was simply too far away. The only exception was the land of the human race's 3 holy masters. The Phoenix's Passion Palace, the White Emperor City, and the Divine Martial Gate, the 3 holy lords, gathered together once again. The reason for this was very interesting. With just one sentence, Shao Qin stirred up the entire Kunlun realm, shocking the world. Since ancient times, probably only Shao Qin could do this. A huge storm slowly brewed. No one knew how big of a commotion it would cause on the day of the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. Chapter 1274. As for the main character of this incident, the Blue Dragon King Shao Qin, he was not as anxious or nervous as others imagined. He even looked rather relaxed. Dark clouds churned above Shao Qin's mountain peak, and thunder roared endlessly. Occasionally, electricity flashed in the air. Shao Qin lay on a rock, looking at the scenery with an indifferent expression as he toyed with the lunar shadow saber with one hand. Sometimes, the lunar shadow saber landed on Shao Qin's fingertip. In the next moment, Xiao Chen's arm gently bumped into it. The lunar shadow saber moved about nimbly, like Xiao Chen had an extra arm. The lunar shadow saber's movements were graceful and natural, revealing a simple beauty. Suddenly, the dark clouds in the sky were sliced in half by an invisible force, like a sharp blade. It was like a soldier avoiding a general. This was the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang. As he walked over step by step, he used his invisible aura to carve out a path for himself in Xiao Chen's saber domain. The Western Sea Dragon King is here. Sorry for not coming out to greet you. This junior has been impolite. Ao Lang grabbed the leaping lunar shadow saber with a flip of his hand and gently placed it on the ground. Xiao Chen did not stand up. Instead, he sat on the flame rock and said indifferently as he looked at the newcomer. Within Xiao Chen's saber domain, Ao Lang felt like he was in his own world, completely unaffected. Ao Lang sized up Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen had long hair, white robes, and a handsome face. His eyes were as deep as an ancient well. Xiao Chen exuded an unperturbed, calm, and composed air. What a strong mental state. After seeing me, he can still remain so calm, not angry, not arrogant, and not rash. However, Xiao Chen's next words and actions incited the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang's rage once more. Since Xiao Chen already knew his identity, he still did not stand up to greet him, putting on airs before him. You also know that you were impolite? You are the first blue-robed emperor who dares to sit and speak to me. Who taught you to be so arrogant? Although the Western Sea Dragon King was furious, it was not that he did not act rashly. Instead, he grasped a point and started to pressure Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "You are a senior, a seventh heaven sovereign martial emperor. He can kill me with a single thought. I was supposed to be humble and bow. But you are the West Sea Dragon King, and I am also the Blue Dragon King appointed by the Thunder King of Bushan Palace. We are both Dragon Kings. If I were to bow my head to you, it would be equivalent to Bushan Palace lowering its head to you. You would not be able to accept my bow." Ao Lang's expression changed slightly. Xiao Chen was eloquent. What a great, I am not worthy of his respect. Ao Lang had no way of retorting. He easily neutralized the pressure from his words, not giving him any chance at all. Xiao Chen stood up and continued, "Senior, you are probably here for the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony this month, right? What advice do you have for me? Feel free to speak freely." Ao Lang narrowed his eyes slightly. For the first time, he felt that this youth before him was exceptionally difficult to deal with. It felt like his hands and feet were tied. "Let me ask you this. Did you think about the feelings of my Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace when you established the Dragon's Gate in this Western Sea? If the luck of Heaven Dragon City increases, the luck of my Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace will definitely decrease. Do you think that there is anything to discuss between us?" Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and said sullenly, "Of course there is. Since the decrease in luck is unavoidable, why not assess the situation and rely on whoever has great luck? Naturally, my luck will not decrease. Instead, it will rise with the tide, rising higher and higher. If we oppose each other, naturally, it will be hard to avoid a decrease in luck." When Ao Lang heard this, he laughed loudly and said, "You are really boundlessly arrogant. You are just an insignificant consummation blue-robed emperor, and you actually dare to say such words before me. You want me to assess the situation and make the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace lower its head to you? You are too naive." "Naive?" Xiao Chen's lips curled up slightly. With a flash, he landed on a tall rock at the edge of the cliff. Then, he stood at the highest point of this world and looked down at Ao Lang. "Dragon King, are you still unable to see the situation clearly? This world has changed long ago. Soon, a golden age will descend. Batches of outstanding talents will push open the Emperor's door. In the situation, All decaying things that do not know how to adapt will be washed away by the current until their bones shatter. If we can take advantage of the situation, the old tree can blossom, the withered tree will gain new life and rise further. Western Sea Dragon King, can't you see through it? Or do you feel that you are a seventh heaven martial emperor and a sovereign martial emperor? That is already something to be proud of, and that there is no need to improve further? A strong wind blew. This was the wind of kingship. As Shao Chun stood on the rock, he silently spread out the state of kingship from his body. The separated thunderclouds in the sky slowly closed. Shao Chen's saber domain slowly forced the Western Sea Dragon King out. The Western Sea Dragon King frowned heavily. He did not resist, letting the other party force him out. In reality, as long as the Western Sea Dragon King was willing, Shao Chen would not be able to force him out. However, Shao Chen's words caused the Western Sea Dragon King's mind to buzz. The Western Sea Dragon King entered deep thought. This world had already changed. If one did not follow the trend, one would end up getting crushed by the surging current. The Western Sea Dragon King's original intention was to use the trend to force Shao Chen. Who knew, in the end, Shao Chen actually used the trend to force him. Boom! Suddenly, the Western Sea Dragon King startled awake. He glared, and his aura burst forth. With this glance, the thunderclouds in the sky immediately turned to nothing. The thunderclouds were gone, and the sunlight immediately swept down, bathing the top of the mountain in golden light. What a great blue Dragon King! If he becomes Emperor Wu with such elegance, he will definitely be able to convince me. Ao Lang calmed himself down and said indifferently, "If you become a martial emperor, perhaps I might be able to stop after hearing what you said. However, even though you are now in limitless glory, tribulation clouds cover your head. You cannot even determine your own future, yet you want to convince me?" After saying that, the Western Sea Dragon King stepped forward. Ao Jiao said coldly, "I'll give you a chance. If you give up on re-establishing the Dragon's Gate now, my Divine Dragon Palace will definitely not seek trouble for your Heaven Dragon City in the future. Otherwise, don't blame me for forcing you with my momentum. On the day of the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony, I will show you what the trend is. Even gods and Buddhas cannot stop me." Bathed in the sunlight, Shao Chen faced the Western Sea Dragon King's overbearing aura. Then, he enunciated every word clearly. "In that case, I will respectfully await your arrival. Show me the overwhelming momentum that you speak of." Humph! The Western Sea Dragon King stomped his foot and said coldly, "Goodbye. Don't blame me for bullying you, not giving you a chance." Bang! 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 The instant the Western Sea Dragon King turned around, the mountain below Shao Chen crumbled, turning into countless shards. Under the Western Sea Dragon King's foot, the tall mountain crumbled and crumbled effortlessly. It is impolite not to reciprocate. Since Senior destroyed this mountain, then bring it back as well. The white-robed Shao Chen instantly drew the lunar shadow saber in his hand. Whoosh! The originally crumbling saber domain quickly recovered in an instant, and the thunderclouds reformed. The instant the saber light flickered, the mountain, which had shattered into countless shards, reformed with the vast saber intent that Shao Chen executed with his saber domain. However, this time, it no longer looked like a mountain. Instead, it looked like a saber. A 3-kilometer-long saber flickered with purple electric light. As Shao Chen swung his saber, it moved like lightning towards the Western Sea Dragon King. Disdain flashed in the eyes of the Western Sea Dragon King. Then, he turned around and threw a palm strike. 7 layers of light appeared behind him. The vast primordial energy caused space to ripple like water. The force of the palm strike blocked the saber. As expected, the scene of the saber turning into powder did not appear. Instead, it gave off a muffled sound like thunder on a clear day, echoing in all directions. Shao Chen sheathed his saber and smiled. "I'll have to trouble Senior to take this mountain away." A grave look flashed in Ao Lang's eyes. He could tell that Xiao Chen's saber domain had already reached a certain level. Earlier, when Ao Lang looked over, his vast aura had not shattered the other party's saber domain. However, it had followed Xiao Chen's thoughts and instantly hid in the surroundings. The saber domain had always been there. Hence, the other party could rely on the saber domain to execute such a strong saber strike in such a short time. Good saber technique. You have made this king see you in a different light once again. I will borrow this mountain for now. I will return it to you after the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. In this battle, he had unknowingly fallen into a disadvantageous position before a junior. Ao Lang felt that he was too ashamed to remain here. He suppressed the rage in his heart and turned his head to glare at Xiao Chen. Then, he left Heaven Dragon Island at lightning speed. Like a little bird, Xiao Chen slowly descended from the sky. A light flashed in his eyes as he muttered to himself, "Saber domain, saber domain. The saber is in front, and the domain is behind. Of course, the saber is more important." This exchange with the Western Sea Dragon King allowed Xiao Chen to gain an even more thorough understanding of the saber domain. Xiao Chen could no longer cultivate the saber domain according to the experience of others. Senior Lan had only led Xiao Chen through the door. Xiao Chen could only rely on himself for the rest. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Wind whistled and two figures landed. It was Emo Chen and Lan Xiaobai rushing over at the same time. When they saw the mountain where Xiao Chen cultivated turn into nothing, their expressions changed drastically. "What's going on? Who was here earlier?" Xiao Chen answered honestly, "The Western Sea Dragon King, Ao Lang." When Lan Xiaobai and Emo Chen heard this, their hearts sank at the same time. A shadow flashed in their minds. The commotion caused by the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony was already starting to show. It had only been a few days, and the Western Sea Dragon King could not help but come out personally. In that case, what kind of pressure would he face during the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony in the future? Ao Lang showed a sullen expression as he returned to the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace with a huge stone saber on his back. At this moment, the three Vice Palace Masters of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace had already rushed to the other Divine Dragon Palaces. The martial Emperor Elders had gone to seek out the many holy lands of the heavenly starry ocean. When the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young Palace Master Ao Yu saw Ao Lang return, he revealed an expression of joy and immediately led some people to welcome him. "Father, you must have taught Xiao Chen a ruthless lesson, right?" Ao Yu said excitedly. Back then, Xiao Chen had forced him to his knees with one palm strike. That memory was still fresh in his mind. Ao Lang showed a sullen expression, not saying anything. Ao Yu could not make out Ao Yu's expression, so he continued to smile and chatter. As Ao Yu sized up the exaggerated 3-kilometer-long stone saber, he said, "Father, this is your war trophy, right? This saber is pretty good. What rank is it? That brat Xiao Chen will definitely feel the pinch." But after suppressing the rage in his heart for a long time, Ao Lang could no longer hold it in. He slapped Ao Lang's face and said, "Trash! If you had even a tenth of Xiao Chen's elegance, I would not have to worry so much about him re-establishing the Dragon's Gate." Only then did the group of attendants realize that the Dragon King had suffered a loss at Heaven Dragon Island and was currently feeling depressed. Chapter 1275. Bang! Xiao Lang put down the stone saber on his back, causing the ground to tremble. The lightning saber intent on the saber had yet to vanish, crackling and flickering endlessly. Ao Lang said coldly, "Look after this stone saber well. On the day of the ceremony, I will personally deliver it to that brat." After thinking for a while, Ao Lang looked into the distance and said indifferently, "I'm afraid that I will have to personally go to some places." After personally seeing Xiao Chen, Ao Lang's heart turned even heavier. The Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen was much harder to deal with than he had imagined. At the same time, The envoys of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace arrived in the various holy lands of the heavenly starry ocean. When these holy lords heard the purpose of the envoys' arrival, they all rejoiced in their hearts. Just as they were worrying about how to deal with Shao Chen, the Western Sea Divine Dragon King stepped forward to lead the charge. This was simply the best outcome. One Shao Chen was not scary. What was scary was the Haotian Prime behind Shao Chen and the Thunder King. Since someone was willing to bear this unknown revenge and take the lead to ruin the ceremony, these holy lords were naturally happy to do this favor. The Heavenly Province Academy, the Five Poison Sect, and the Zodiac Hall. These three immortal holy lands did not even think about it before agreeing to the Western Sea Dragon King's invitation. Only the Yin-Yang Paradise, Myriad Fiend Island, and the Lunar Palace did not respond immediately. As for the other ancient noble clans, most of them agreed. On Myriad Fiend Island, Di Xinhan, who had fought with Shao Chen at the Four Seas Hero Gathering, did his best to dissuade the many fiends on the island from participating in the Western Sea Dragon King's plan. Di Xinhan advised, "Uncles, I fought with this Shao Chen before. It is fine if this person is nothing, but he will definitely not be a second Qing emperor. The Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony is most likely the responsibility of the Shao clan's descendants, to revive the Dragon's Gate and protect its inheritance. Dear, you are still young. You do not know what it means for him to re-establish the Dragon's Gate. Whether he is willing or not, when the Dragon's Gate is re-established in the heavenly starry ocean, the luck of the various holy lands will uncontrollably flow to him." Di Xinhan shook his head and said, "This is a reason that only the weak would agree to. The strong and the weak depend on themselves. If that's the case, then even if our demon island is given great luck, it will certainly not be able to develop." As they argued endlessly, an aged voice suddenly came from the simple and unadorned palace. "Just prepare a generous gift for the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. Don't participate in anything else." The moment the voice rang out, the faces of everyone present changed. The one who had spoken was Patriarch Myriad Demon. The old ancestor of the Demon Island has a supreme status on the Demon Island. Like the Lunar Palace's Palace Master and the Zodiac Hall's Astral Lord, he was one of the three primes. When the old ancestor spoke, the group of elders immediately stopped objecting. Di Xinhan heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he felt somewhat suspicious. He had no idea why the old ancestor, who had been in seclusion for 1,000 years, would suddenly care about this matter. The bewitching women of the Yin-Yang Paradise discussed for a while before rejecting the Western Sea Dragon King's envoy as well. On the other hand, he giggled and asked the emissary to stay in the Yin-Yang Paradise for a few more days. This startled the emissary into laughing abashedly and quickly leaving. The women of the Yin-Yang Paradise were famous for being ruthless. How could the emissary dare to stay? This made the group of women cover their mouths and laugh endlessly. Inside the Lunar Palace, the Lunar Palace's Palace Master, who had been tempted by the emissary's persuasion, was interrupted by Yu Bingyun, who suddenly rushed back. After learning that Shao Chen had saved Yu Bingyun's life, the Lunar Palace's Palace Master showed a complicated expression, remaining silent for a long time. Yu Bingyun, who was at the side, felt very nervous. She did not know what decision her master would make in the end. Just take it as repaying him a favor. The Lunar Palace will not participate in this matter. As for whether he can clear this stage or not, that will depend on himself. The Lunar Palace will absolutely not help the Qing Emperor's descendant. Yu Bingyun's heart sank. This was not the result she wanted. However, when she saw her master's firm tone, she did not dare to say anything more. Of the 6 immortal Holy Lands, although 3 of them confirmed that they would not participate, the Western Sea Dragon King still managed to win over the other 3 Holy Lands and most of the ancient noble clans. Together with them, they would be a colossus that could force any faction to give way. The Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang personally appeared and gathered the leaders of these factions together. Then, he started to discuss the countermeasures that he had prepared long ago. The countermeasures were very simple. They would use their strength to suppress others, using their vast faction to put boundless pressure on Shao Chen, making him give up on re-establishing the Dragon's Gate. The storm targeting the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony had already accumulated horrifying energy. Once the time was up, it would launch a sneak attack. However, the Western Sea Dragon King still did not seem satisfied. After organizing the factions of the Heavenly Starry Ocean, he personally set off for the Kunlun continent. At a certain mysterious seabed in the Heavenly Starry Ocean, Yi Ling, who had already reconnected his arm, walked hastily through the palace at the bottom of the sea, rushing to a secret room. The most mysterious person in the entire oceanic world sat in the secret room, the Treasure Master. Yi Ling did not push open the door to the secret room. In reality, even a sovereign martial emperor would find it hard to push open this door. Outside the secret room, Yi Ling directly said, "Father, the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony will be held in half a month. At that time, Shao Chen will re-establish the Dragon's Gate and formally establish the Dragon's Gate." However, there was no commotion from the secret room at all. It seemed like the person inside was not interested in this news at all. "Father, say something." He broke off both my arms. "You have not helped me take revenge for this. Now, he is going to re-establish the Dragon's Gate. Could it be that we are just going to watch as that happens?" Yi Ling said in a somewhat trembling voice as he knelt on the ground, feeling anxious. Inside the secret room, the Treasure Master, who was shrouded in black shadows, opened his eyes. 14 images surrounded him, guarding him. If one looked carefully, one would discover that these images were exactly the same as the huge immortal statues that the Treasure Master controlled in the Heavenly Starry Ocean. However, they were much smaller. "I have my own plans for this matter. There is no need for you to worry about it. Cultivate properly and don't waste your time," the Treasure Master said indifferently. Yi Ling did not get up. Feeling dissatisfied, he asked, "Father, when can I take revenge for my arms?" "Anytime. As long as you are stronger than him, there is no need to continue pestering me. You are interrupting my closed-door cultivation." The Treasure Master waved his hand, and a strong energy surged through the air. Whether Yi Ling was willing or not, he was pushed out of the many barriers, unable to enter again. Undercurrents flowed and a storm arrived. Shao Chen, who stirred up such a storm, did not show much anxiety. He continued to comprehend the island in a seemingly leisurely manner, cultivating without stopping for even a moment. Shao Chen would only read the letters he received when he was free. The people in the letters were all honored guests that he had invited to participate in the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. As Shao Chen looked at the letters with roughly the same content, he felt gratified. Shao Chen did not have many friends. However, at the crucial moment, they would help him without hesitation, not delaying at all. The Northern Sea Alliance's alliance chief, the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea, the Geomaster Jiang Tian, the Merfolk Queen Yao Yen, the White Bone Sovereign, all these people replied with simple words. However, their attitudes were very clear in their word. After putting away the letters, Shao Chen muttered, "Western Sea Dragon King, you want to use power to suppress me. Let's see who will be the one suppressing whom." Right after Shao Chen put away the letters, a guest arrived in the courtyard. Imochen walked in a hurry. Imochen appeared somewhat fatigued. Aside from fatigue, there was also a heavy look in the depths of her eyes. Seeing Imochen enter, Shao Chen revealed a smile. He stood up and invited her to take a seat. Then, he personally poured tea for her and served her well. "Big brother Shao Chen, there is no need to be so polite with me." Imochen picked up the teacup and took a sip, smiling faintly. "It's what I should do. I owe you too much. Everything I do is what I should do," Shao Chen said sincerely, his words filled with sincerity. Imochen and Lan Xiaobai had been the ones handling the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. They had been incredibly busy, not having any time to rest. On the other hand, Shao Chen, the main character of this matter, was surprisingly idle. Aside from comprehending the saber domain, he did not do anything else. When Shao Chen wanted to help, Emo Chen sternly rejected him, not letting him interfere. In reality, Shao Chen also knew that Emo Chen felt sorry for him. Emo Chen knew better than anyone that the one under the greatest pressure in re-establishing the Dragon's Gate would definitely be Shao Chen. If Emo Chen could help Shao Chen a little, she would definitely do her best, not letting Shao Chen worry too much. Emo Chen put down the teacup and cut to the chase, directly stating the purpose of her visit. Everything is ready. We will start paying respects to the ancestors 3 days from now. Xiaobai told me to come and inform you. Paying respects to the ancestors was the first step of the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. After paying respects to the ancestors, it was time to open the doors to welcome guests and receive congratulations from all over. What would come would eventually come. However, now that it really came, Shao Chen could not help but feel somewhat rueful. Is it starting? Time really flies. Time did indeed pass very quickly. If Shao Chen counted carefully, he had already been in the Kunlun realm for 14 years. Since he left Mo City's Shao clan, it had been even longer. When he looked back, only a blink of an eye had passed. Big brother Shao, Emo Chen interrupted when she saw Shao Chen's somewhat distracted expression. Shao Chen recovered his wits and smiled. I understand. I will make my preparations 3 days from now. Paying respects to the ancestors is a major matter. There cannot be any mistakes. Emo Chen revealed a trace of worry in her eyes. There is no need to worry about paying respects to the ancestors. Even if those people do not understand the rules, they will not cause trouble at this time. After paying respects to the ancestors is the unveiling of the plaque. We will have to accept the congratulations from all over. This is the key. When paying respects to the ancestors, no one would come and cause trouble for you. However, it would be hard to say when people from all over came to congratulate you and open the doors to welcome guests. A resolute light appeared in Shao Chen's eyes. I want to re-establish the Dragon's Gate. No one can stop me. 3 days later, the paying respects to the ancestors began. Shao Chen stood in the middle, with Emo Chen and Lan Xiaobai on his left and right. Yu Chenxi, Jin Lin, Yu, and the others followed behind. The group had solemn expressions as they arrived at the Blue Dragon Mausoleum outside Heaven Dragon City. Buried under the Blue Dragon Mausoleum were the remains of the Dragon's Gate Primes, the heroic spirits that fought to the death for the Dragon's Gate. Many nameless tombstones stood erect, adding a sense of solemnity to this solemn atmosphere. Shao Chen knelt on the ground, feeling a sense of responsibility and emotion in his heart as he knelt before these Dragon's Gate martyrs. In the past, the Dragon's Gate swept through the world, achieving great military merit. However, luck fluctuated. The Qing Emperor fell, and the Dragon's Gate was destroyed. 10,000 years later, there were no inheritances. Chapter 1276. During the solemn and respectful ancestral worship ceremony, an old man announced the glory and decline of the Dragon's Gate in a loud and clear voice. Originally, most people already knew about this matter. However, such a scene deeply touched everyone's hearts. In the history of the Kunlun realm, no sect had ever had such a glorious history as the Dragon's Gate. The Dragon's Gate swept through everywhere, unrivaled in the world, and no one dared to disobey it. However, such a strong sect did not fall to the deep abyss demon races in the end. Instead, it fell to the many holy lands of the Kunlun realm. The glory came to an end. The Shao clan's direct bloodline was chased down to the lower realm, becoming a small clan that declined. Just for the sake of survival, they had to struggle in fear. They could not even deal with a few unranked clans. If the story ended here, it would only make people sigh a little before there would be no more. After the Qing Emperor, the white-robed Shao Chen appeared. In a few short years, he gained great fame in the Kunlun realm. he swept through all the younger generation of the Kunlun continent and the Four Seas. Now, as a consummation blue-robed emperor, Shao Chen defeated a true Emperor Wu. After the Qing Emperor, Shao Chen carried great luck and fame, announcing to the world that the Dragon's Gate, which was destroyed 10,000 years ago, would reappear today. The ancestral worship ceremony proceeded in an orderly manner, following the procedure that Lan Shaobai had prepared long ago, proceeding step by step. Splash, splash, splash. Shao Chen picked up a flask of fine wine and poured it all over the ground. Then, he slowly raised his cup. The Dragon's Gate's direct descendants behind him raised their cups as well, facing the Blue Dragon Mausoleum and draining it in one go. Shao Chen's eyes blazed with determination. He had waited too long for this day. He had also waited long enough to offer this cup of wine to the heroic spirits of the Dragon's Gate's ancestors. Let's go. Everyone, follow me. Let's open the gates and welcome the guests, to congratulate the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment. Shao Chen placed the empty wine cup on the ground. Then, he turned around and led the group to the Blue Dragon Plaza. There was an unveiling ceremony waiting for Shao Chen. There was also a storm waiting for Shao Chen to endure. Many guests filled the Blue Dragon Plaza. The Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony was a major event that had already startled the entire heavenly starry ocean. Almost all the cultivators who did not have urgent matters on hand and did not need to enter closed-door cultivation rushed over. This was a rare event that happened once in 1,000 years. These people did not want to miss this chance. Moreover, everyone knew that there would definitely be a good show to watch during the ceremony. They casually prepared a congratulatory gift and waited for the show to begin. On the high platform, Shao Chen sat in the middle, looking at the bustling crowd in the square. His expression did not change much. Lan Shaobai had already made arrangements to welcome these cultivators from all over the world. Aside from a small number of people who were qualified to stand on this high platform, the rest did not need Shao Chen to personally welcome them. I am Feng Bing of the Eastern Sea. I am here to congratulate the Blue Dragon King on re-establishing the Dragon's Gate. The Southern Sea's sky-splitting sect is here to congratulate the Blue Dragon King on re-establishing the Dragon's Gate. The Autumn Water Palace is here to congratulate the Blue Dragon King on re-establishing the Dragon's Gate. We present a congratulatory gift. People kept coming to congratulate him, and the gifts were casually placed aside, piling up like a mountain. It was noisy and bustling, but Shao Chen's heart was tranquil. Aside from standing up to greet people he knew and reminiscing about old times, Shao Chen's gaze remained fixed on the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet on the high platform. The Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet was personally made by the Qing Emperor using the heaven-subduing stone. At this moment, it was covered by azure dragon flags. However, when the dragon banner was unfurled and the mountain tablet reappeared, the most crucial step of the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony would be completed. Seeing that it was almost noon, the people around Shao Chen started to get anxious. For some reason, the honored guests of the heavenly starry ocean, who should have arrived long ago, did not show up even though the unveiling ceremony was about to begin. Shao Chen, something seems to have happened, Lan Shaobai sent an anxious voice projection. Shao Chen remained calm, indicating that there was no need to worry. Reporting. The Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang leads the divine dragon palaces of the Four Seas, the 7-colored dragon marquises, the 3 immortal holy lands, and the 9 ancient noble clans, to congratulate the Blue Dragon King on re-establishing the Dragon's Gate. It was a long list of names, and every single one of them had a shocking background. They were all overlords of a region, and as they read on, their voices began to tremble. At the entrance of the Blue Dragon Plaza, the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang laughed loudly as he led a group of people over in a grandiose manner. These people's footsteps were heavy as they walked over in a grandiose manner, causing the ground to tremble. Their auras were pressing, and their gazes were as sharp as sabers as they pointed at Shao Chen, who sat in the middle of the high platform. The most eye-catching thing was that each of these people carried a 3-kilometer-long weapon on their back. Be it a stone saber, a spear, or a treasure sword, all of them were made of stone without exception. They looked very strange, inciting discussion among the crowd. After Ao Lang walked in, the extraordinarily bustling plaza instantly turned extremely quiet. No one dared to speak loudly. Everyone knew that Ao Lang was here to cause trouble. When everyone looked at the various major characters with overwhelming auras beside the Western Sea Dragon King, their hearts sank. Under the pressure of the strong auras, they found breathing somewhat difficult. Ao Lang laughed loudly and said, "Little brother Shao Chen, as you wished, this king and the other fellow Taoists arrived on time. Hey, something seems off. Shao Chen, your pomp seems a little small. Why do I not see a single one of the 9 ranks of the great families? The re-establishment of the Dragon's Gate is a little too stingy." Ah! Shao Chen's heart skipped a beat. He guessed that something had happened to the 9 ranks of the great families that he invited, and the Western Sea Dragon King blocked them. However, Shao Chen did not panic. Ao Lang might be able to block the people of the 9 ranks of the great families. However, he did not believe that the other party could block the truly major characters. Shao Chen stood up and said with a double meaning, "Senior Ao is too kind. With the group of people that Senior Ao is leading, the pomp is already sufficient." Ao Lang smiled and said, "Since we are here, we cannot come empty-handed. Blue Dragon King, please give us some face and accept my Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's congratulatory gift." Right after Ao Lang spoke, his face sank. He raised the huge stone saber on his back and circulated his primordial energy, charging ferociously at Shao Chen. The 3-kilometer-long stone saber was as large as a mountain. Infused with primordial energy, its destructive power was easy to imagine. "Blue Dragon King, please give us some face and accept my 5 poison sects congratulatory gift." "Blue Dragon King, please do not give us any face for the congratulatory gift of my Heavenly Province Academy. There is also my Zodiac Hall's congratulatory gift. Please, Blue Dragon King, accept it as well. The ancient noble clans have also prepared a generous gift. Please, Blue Dragon King, accept it." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Amid everyone's startled cries, 10-odd 3-kilometer-long sabers infused with primordial energy surged towards Shao Chen, who was on the high platform. The honored guests on the high platform had never seen such a formation before. They all paled in fright as they quickly fled. Every 3-kilometer-long saber was made by a greater heavenly Emperor Wu at the very least. Such a horrifying attack was equivalent to 10-odd greater heavenly Emperor Wu launching their peak strikes at the same time. If Shao Chen stood there and did not leave, aside from getting injured to the point where he could not get up, there would be no other result. As Shao Chen looked at the incoming sabers, rage burned in his heart. He had long expected that the Western Sea Dragon King would do anything to disrupt the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. However, he had not expected it to be so direct. A powerful storm roared over. If Shao Chen did not retreat, he would definitely die a horrible death. However, he was the Dragon's Gate's master. If he retreated, this Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony would be a joke. This was a pile of lethal congratulatory gifts. Even if he did not want to accept them, he had to accept them. The Western Sea Dragon King smiled coldly and said, "Blue Dragon King, if you do not even give us this little face, I think you might as well stop holding this Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. You are not even accepting our congratulatory gift. Your Dragon's Gate must be filled with wild ambition, completely looking down on us." The sky was completely covered by dozens of giant blades, blocking all the sunlight. The square was instantly plunged into darkness. The 10-odd huge sabers pressed towards the high platform seemingly slowly but were actually very fast. As they moved slowly, they pressed down on the entire space, looking like waves surging and surging. Everyone knew that with Xiao Chen's strength, he would not be able to receive these 10-odd huge sabers. However, the Western Sea Dragon King still said that. Clearly, he wanted to force Xiao Chen into a dead end. Although Xiao Chen could defeat the first Heaven Emperor Wu with his current strength, he was only a consummation blue-robed emperor after all. How could he receive so many huge sabers? Each of the 10-odd huge sabers contained a strong strike from a greater heavenly Emperor Wu. Even just one saber was more than enough to deal with Xiao Chen. Furthermore, there were 10-odd sabers at the same time. This was simply asking for his life. It's over. Now, the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony is going to fail from the start. Xiao Chen will definitely not dare to receive the attacks of 13 greater heavenly Emperor Wu. How unfortunate. I thought that there would be an evenly matched fight. Unexpectedly, the Western Sea Dragon King is so decisive, not giving Xiao Chen a chance to vent at all. The unveiling ceremony of the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony has not started yet. It looks like it will die in the womb. Even if it does not die in the womb, he will not be able to re-establish the Dragon's Gate. Did you not see what kind of people are following the Western Sea Dragon King? As the discussions continued, all the guests on the high platform had already left in fright. Only Xiao Chen and Emochin remained. A horrifying might pressed down, and the two felt heavy pressure on their shoulders. It was like they were carrying a mountain, wanting to crush every inch of their bones. Big Brother Xiao Chen, I'm going to activate the Heaven Dragon City's Blue Dragon Heaven Locking Formation. Otherwise, I will not be able to receive these 14 huge sabers. The Heavenly Dragon City itself was a huge secret treasure. When it was built, every corner tower was covered in complicated array patterns. There were restrictions everywhere. Although it was not completed yet, the Blue Dragon Heaven Locking Formation in the city was more than enough to receive these 14 huge sabers. There's no need. The Blue Dragon Heaven Locking Formation was the Dragon's Gate's greatest trump card. It would be too much of a pity to use it now. Xiao Chen looked coldly at the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang. Then, he said indifferently, Senior Ao is too serious. How can I not accept the congratulatory gifts of the various holy lands? The entire place was set abuzz. Xiao Chen's decision was unexpected. Unexpectedly, he chose to step forward. What a madman! Is he committing suicide? The Western Sea Dragon King laughed loudly and said in an overbearing manner, In that case, what are you standing there for? Quickly accept it. We already sent you the congratulatory gift. However, if you do not appreciate it, don't blame us for not giving you face. Disdain flashed in the eyes of the leaders of the various holy lands and ancient noble clans. Chapter 1277. By doing this, Xiao Chen would be seeking death. The Western Sea Dragon King's move was brilliant. Whether Xiao Chen received it or not, he would be at a disadvantage. Big Brother Xiao, Emochin said anxiously. Xiao Chen pushed gently, and a gentle force pushed Emochin off the platform. Xiao Chen walked forward step by step and arrived before the mountain tablet covered by the dragon banner. Then, he looked calmly at the 14 gargantuan weapons. Clearly, the Western Sea Dragon King was someone who held a grudge. Back then, he suffered a small loss when facing Xiao Chen's 3-kilometer-long stone saber. Now, he immediately returned the favor tenfold, 100-fold, at the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. Xiao Chen looked around and focused on the 3-kilometer-long stone saber at the very front. This stone saber was formed by his saber intent. Now that the Western Sea Dragon King personally executed it, its might was the greatest. He had to receive this 3-kilometer-long stone saber first. Whoosh! Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and soared into the air, directly flying towards that 3-kilometer-long stone saber. Vital Qi surged in Xiao Chen's body as he materialized the blue dragon battle armor. Then, he burst forth with 20 dragon force. Amid dragon roars, 20 dragon-shaped energy currents circled behind Xiao Chen. Deities descending, tenfold combat prowess. A golden light entered Xiao Chen's body and his aura soared. His 20 dragon force instantly turned into 200 dragon force. Ever since Xiao Chen discovered that his physiological lifespan was severely damaged, he rarely used deities descending, this heaven-defying martial technique that could only deal 1,000 damage to one's opponent but not 800. However, he had to use it today. Before everyone's incredulous gazes, Xiao Chen, who executed deities descending, was truly like a deity. First, he used a palm strike to break the spatial waves created by the 14 gargantuan weapons. Then, he grabbed the 3-kilometer-long stone saber at the very front with his bare hands. Buzz! The space around them shook, and the huge waves that had surged over were reversed by this intense collision. The other 13 giant blades that were flying over all paused, and their speed slowed down significantly. Xiao Chen let out a loud shout. His hand grasped the tip of the 1,000-feet-long stone saber and fiercely lifted it up. Then, he pushed his palm forward. With a loud bang, the stone saber fell heavily in front of the platform and stood upright. He caught it. Everyone gasped in surprise. Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen had caught the giant blade without any damage. However, the situation was still not optimistic. There were still 13 giant blades behind them, and each of them had the power of a greater celestial Emperor Wu. Ha! Western Sea Dragon King, you are really light. When the Vice Palace Master of the Zodiac Hall saw that the Western Sea Dragon King's 3-kilometer-long stone saber was caught, he mocked. Ao Leng felt his face heat up. This brat actually caught his stone saber perfectly unscathed. He had utterly embarrassed himself before the group of martial emperors. Xiao Chen suppressed the surging qi and blood in his body and looked at the second gargantuan weapon. That was a 3-kilometer-long spear. This spear contained strong astral energy. When the Vice Palace Master of the Zodiac Hall executed it, its might was second only to the 3-kilometer-long stone saber. Pu Ci. The cycle banner soared into the sky from Xiao Chen's body. As the astral banner fluttered, it gave off the sound of waves. Massacre, death, ruin, despair, and grief. 5-colored starlight descended from the sky. Colorful light shone everywhere. Under the illumination of the 5-colored starlight, the blue dragon plaza turned into a dreamy land. Xiao Chen's delicate face showed determination, calmness, and decisiveness. He stretched out his hand and grasped the cycle banner. When the 5-colored starlight landed, he roared ferociously and waved the cycle banner in the sky. The astral banner spun, and a vast astral energy surged out from it, suppressing the astral energy in the 3-kilometer-long spear in one go. A strong suction pulled on the 3-kilometer-long spear. Bang! It landed beside the 3-kilometer-long stone saber. Earlier, the Vice Palace Master of the Zodiac Hall had been mocking the Western Sea Dragon King for not being strong enough. Who could have imagined that right after he spoke, Xiao Chen would catch his spear even more easily? The Vice Palace Master of the Zodiac Hall immediately changed his expression. Fortunately, the Western Sea Dragon King did not make things difficult for him. Otherwise, it would be even more embarrassing. How powerful! Xiao Chen managed to catch the 2 most powerful swords. Who knows, he might be able to catch all of them. The Blue Dragon King really made a lot of preparations for this Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. The cultivators present all felt an irrepressible excitement. If Xiao Chen could really catch all of them, this Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony would be interesting. He would trample on the faces of the many holy lands. Just thinking about it made everyone excited. Xiao Chen successfully caught the 2 strongest sabers. As long as he caught the gargantuan sabers from the 5 Poison Sect and the Heavenly Province Academy, the other 2 holy lands, the gargantuan sabers would be easier to deal with. As for the remaining 10 giant blades, they were easier to deal with. Those from the clan of the Ancients and other dragon palaces were much weaker. The Vice Sect Master of the 5 Poison Sect smiled coldly and said, Let's see how you catch the gargantuan saber of my 5 poison sect. This stone saber is infused with 10,000 kinds of poison from the inside out. The 3-kilometer-long gargantuan saber of the 5 poison sect was a staff. It was not very mighty, but it was the most dangerous. Once touched, all sorts of strange poisons would enter the body. Although it would be hard for a half-step golden body to die from poison, one's combat prowess would inevitably decrease by more than half. However, the most crucial thing now was not the 5 poison sect's gargantuan saber. Instead, it was the 10-odd gargantuan sabers that already charged over, not giving Xiao Chen a chance to catch them alone. The danger of this place could not be described with words. Facing the 12 gargantuan sabers, Xiao Chen was as insignificant as an ant under the overwhelming might and pressure. He could be crushed into bits at any moment. The hearts of the Dragon's Gate's people all tensed up. As they looked at Xiao Chen in the air, they all felt very nervous. Just at this moment, a ferocious look flashed in the eyes of the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang. He clapped his hands and said, "The Blue Dragon King is a good move, connecting 2 of our congratulatory gifts. However, how can one receive the congratulatory gifts one at a time? Our hearts are connected. Naturally, we have to receive the congratulatory gifts at the same time." Right after the Western Sea Dragon King spoke, he threw a palm strike. Immediately, the 12 gargantuan sabers, which had already arrived, quickly merged together with the Western Sea Dragon King's palm strike. A vast aura suddenly gathered, becoming like a sharp saber stabbing towards Xiao Chen's chest. The originally dangerous situation forced Xiao Chen into a desperate situation once more. What a strong emperor's might! Xiao Chen thought to himself as he felt pain in his chest. His sovereign might showed signs of crumbling. Western Sea Dragon King, can you be any more despicable? The Dragon's Gate's people could not help cursing angrily. This was especially so for Emochin, who stood up in anger and was about to activate the Blue Dragon Heaven-locking formation. The tens of thousands of guests in the Blue Dragon Plaza were also set abuzz. Unexpectedly, the Western Sea Dragon King was actually this shameless. When the Western Sea Dragon King saw the rage of these people, he laughed loudly, feeling very cocky. "What do you mean by despicable? We came from afar to send gifts together. Naturally, the Blue Dragon King will accept all the congratulatory gifts." Xiao Chen, who was in the air, waved his hand to stop the Dragon's Gate's people, who were filled with righteous indignation. Then, he looked at the Western Sea Dragon King and said coldly, "Although your hearts are connected, there are differences in strength and status. How are you going to accept the congratulatory gift? Naturally, I, the Blue Dragon King, have to prioritize. It is not up to you, the Western Sea Dragon King, to tell me what to do." With a thought, Neptune's crown appeared on Xiao Chen's head. In that instant, Xiao Chen's king's might soared. Xiao Chen blocked the Emperor's might gathered by the 12 gargantuan weapons. In a clash of auras, he surpassed them significantly. Primordial energy surged out of Xiao Chen's heart of an emperor. Then, he threw a palm strike with his left hand, and lofty aspirations burst forth from his chest. A bright moon-like fire soared into the air. This was the 1,000-year flame, the profound martial technique that Xiao Chen created. This palm strike contained lofty aspirations and hot-bloodedness. A blazing flame, burning my heart. At the same time, Xiao Chen threw a palm strike with his right hand. A scarlet moon soared into the air, and flowers danced in the air. This was the 1,000-year death, which came from the same source as the 1,000-year flame. The grief of a king does not hate heaven and earth, does not resent the gods and ghosts. Like a moon hanging high, blood dyed the sky. Only I know, admiring myself. The 2 moons competed with each other, lofty aspirations, hot-bloodedness, and cold grief mixing. When Xiao Chen threw 2 palm strikes, he scattered the 13 gargantuan weapons that had yet to completely form. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Xiao Chen's figure flickered. Amid the light of the two moons, he sent out another 3 palm strikes and completely scattered the 13 gargantuan weapons. Each palm strike contained 100 strands of primordial energy. Amid the loud rumbling, a terrifying emperor's might radiated out, startling the spectators. After sending out the 3 palm strikes, 2 beams of light flew out of Shao Chen's eyes, one golden and one white. They were the solar true flame and the lunar true flame. The flames chased each other and quickly materialized a beautiful Taiji yin-yang flame diagram. Sweat appeared on Shao Chen's forehead. He clenched his teeth and shouted, "Spin!" The Taiji yin-yang flame diagram spun rapidly, erupting with bright golden light. As the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram spun, the gargantuan weapons containing the various poisons of the 5 poison sect flew to the side of the Zodiac Hall's spear and fell to the ground. The 5 poison sect old man revealed great shock on his face. "How can this be? He caught my congratulatory gift just like that. The myriad poisons are all wasted. Pu ci." A 3-kilometer-long sword broke through the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram. Bathed in fiery light, it flew towards Shao Chen, radiating a jagged sword intent that was incredibly sharp. This was the congratulatory gift from the Heavenly Province Academy, a 3-kilometer-long sword with the sharpest offensive power. The Heavenly Province Academy old man said coldly, "Even if you catch this sword of mine, you will vomit 3 liters of blood. The 10 gargantuan weapons behind will be more than enough to kill you." "Saber!" Shao Chen shouted in his heart. The lunar shadow saber in his hand moved nimbly between his palm and arm. It was like a beautiful woman dancing the most beautiful dance in the world. As Shao Chen moved, the surging saber intent in his body slowly gathered and surged towards the saber. Shao Chen's saber domain had already advanced from power to subtlety. Even if he did not bring out his saber domain, his strong saber intent would be sufficient to scare away most of the sword intents in the Kunlun realm. When the gargantuan sword arrived before Shao Chen, the lunar shadow saber suddenly stopped moving. Shao Chen narrowed his eyes. His gaze was like a powerful saber as he grasped the lunar shadow saber. Without drawing it, he swung it forward in the time it took for a spark to fly. Shao Chen used the scabbard to block the tip of the gargantuan sword. It looked like a clash of sabers and swords. However, what mattered was their respective saber intents and sword intent. Without a master to control the gargantuan sword, no matter how strong its sword intent was, it could not compare to the unparalleled saber intent that Shao Chen had instantly shot out after storing up power. King Chong. It was like an immortal zither in the heavens, playing the exquisite zither music of a powerful army. When the insignificant Shao Chen sent out his saber, he forced the gargantuan sword back by 3 centimeters. Chapter 1278. Shao Chen's white robes fluttered as he spun around. Then, he stepped on the blade of the gargantuan saber. Whoosh! The sword plunged straight down, sinking about 1 meter into the ground. When Shao Chen landed, he stood firmly on the hilt of the gargantuan saber. His white robes fluttered and his long hair fluttered. He looked like a powerful bladesman, looking very graceful. The Heavenly Province Academy old man's face immediately turned green. It was like Shao Chen had not stepped on the sword but his face. As Shao Chen stood on the hilt of the gargantuan saber, he looked around at the remaining 10 gargantuan sabers. These were not made by the Holy Lands and were much weaker than the previous 4. Shao Chen held the saber horizontally in front of him and grasped the hilt with his right hand. At this moment, his mind was calm. Saber domain! Shao Chen muttered to himself, and he instantly drew the lunar shadow saber. Together with the long saber, he also drew his thunder saber domain, which had already gone from power to subtlety. The area within 1 kilometer of the Thundercloud secret treasure was Shao Chen's world. The saber intent filling the air was everywhere. With a thought, he could form a saber. Whoosh! As the saber light spread out, the astral energy of the 4 gargantuan sabers in front of the tall platform, the boundless sword intent, and everything within 1 kilometer all infused into the saber that Xiao Qin drew. When Xiao Qin felt the vast saber intent on the saber, he grasped the lunar shadow saber tightly and looked at the 10 gargantuan sabers. Then, he brandished his saber to his heart's content. This saber strike completely destroyed the aura and state of the 10 gargantuan sabers. Lofty aspirations filled Xiao Qin's heart. He soared into the air and hacked down with his saber again. A vast purple saber chi carrying a strong aura swept through the sky like a purple flame tail. With one saber strike, the gargantuan saber of the Jiang clan, an ancient noble clan, landed beside the gargantuan saber. With another saber strike, the gargantuan saber sent out by the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's Vice Palace Master landed with a boom. Dressed in white and equipped with a treasured saber, he danced in the air in front of the crowd. When the tens of thousands of guests saw Xiao Qin flying in the air, each time he swung his saber, a 3-kilometer-long saber would descend, they were all dumbfounded. Even the Western Sea Dragon Kings group appeared entranced, not daring to believe it. What kind of demeanor did one have to have in order to be able to dance in the sky in front of the crowd and make them fall for him, not daring to make a sound? The purple saber chi that swept across the sky, the huge saber that suddenly fell down, and the white-robed Xiao Qin who danced with the saber. There seemed to be only one scene in the entire world, attracting everyone's attention. In a place that Xiao Qin couldn't see, there were many warships standing in the clouds far away from the Heaven Dragon City. One warship was covered in astral banners. It was the Zodiac Hall's Emperor-grade warship. The Zodiac Hall's palace master personally sat on the warship. A group of junior generation disciples, as well as the Sun Palace's and Moon Palace's holy scions and holy daughters, were all there. These people also saw the scene at the Blue Dragon Plaza. They all rushed to the very front of the deck and looked into the distance in disbelief. Chu Yang muttered, "How can this be? How did he do it? He is about to catch all 14 3-kilometer-long sabers." Such a scene happened on the other warships as well. When one looked carefully, one would discover that the Eastern Sea Dragon King, the Northern Sea Dragon King, the 5 Poison Sects Sect Master, the Heavenly Province Academy's Sect Master, the Inyang Paradise's Cave Master, all these powerful characters were present. When Yu Bingyun saw this scene from the Lunar Palace's warship, her eyes lit up. The Lunar Palace's palace master rejoiced in her heart. Fortunately, she did not agree to the Western Sea Dragon King's rotten idea. Otherwise, the aloof Lunar Palace would end up making a fool of itself as well. Whoosh! When the final 3-kilometer-long saber landed on another saber, Xiao Qin sheathed it. Xiao Qin put away all 14 3-kilometer-long sabers and lined them up in a row before the high platform. As Xiao Qin slowly descended, he glanced at the stunned Western Sea Dragon King. Then, he said calmly, "Men, give the Western Sea Dragon King and the various Holy Land-honored guests a seat. Let the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony continue." The tables and tea tables on the high platform were rearranged. At the entrance of the plaza, 2 pretty maidservants smiled and extended their hands in an inviting gesture. This was clearly an incredibly respectful gesture. However, it made the Western Sea Dragon King and the Holy Land elders all blush, feeling very sullen in their hearts. However, the situation developed in a direction that they did not expect. At this point, there was no reason for them to fall out with Xiao Qin. The Western Sea Dragon King's face flushed red. He clenched his right fist tightly, and his body trembled involuntarily. He did not look like a Dragon King at all. Xiao Qin gently drifted down and returned to the host's seat in the middle. On his left were the Western Sea Dragon King and the greater heavenly sovereigns of the various Holy Lands, Emperor Wu. On the right were the other guests with a smaller presence but strength on par with Emperor Wu. The Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony continued. Lan Xiaobai followed the re-establishment ceremonies of the ancient sects and proceeded in an orderly manner. When Xiao Chen saw this, he knew that Lan Xiaobai had put in a lot of effort to achieve this. Not only did he ensure the grandeur of the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony, but he also did not make too many mistakes, conforming to the norm. This suited Xiao Chen's intentions. There was no need to make the ceremony grand. He just had to go through the necessary procedures. The most important thing was to successfully unveil the Dragon's Gate, announcing to the world the re-establishment of the Dragon's Gate. Letting the world know of the Dragon's Gate's existence and spreading the Dragon's Gate's deeds would invisibly allow the reborn Dragon's Gate to merge into this great realm and obtain its own luck. On the surface, the situation looked great. However, Xiao Qin was very clear on what exactly the situation was. Ao Lang, the rotten idea that you came up with is really incredible. You managed to make so many greater heavenly Emperor Wu embarrass themselves with you. It's all your fault for coming up with such a lousy idea, saying that we should suppress others with our might, directly suppressing Xiao Qin. Now that I've become a laughingstock, I'm satisfied. I already said long ago that no matter how strong a casual strike from us is, there is a limit to it. Don't underestimate Xiao Qin's potential. This old man has lived for 1,000 years, but this is the first time I have made such a fool of myself. Western Sea Dragon King, no matter what, you have to bear this responsibility. On the surface, the Western Sea Dragon King waited, drinking fine wine and watching the various activities of the re-establishment ceremony. However, in secret, they sent voice projections to each other, criticizing the Western Sea Dragon King like a flood. Ao Lang did not say anything, feeling very sullen in his heart. He was the one who came up with this idea. Originally, Ao Lang thought that this matter was in the bag. Who could have imagined that Xiao Qin would turn things around? This simply caught Ao Lang off guard. As he faced everyone's criticism, he showed a sullen expression and did not rebut. I, Ao Lang, will bear this responsibility. After this matter is settled, I will definitely give everyone a satisfactory answer. As Ao Lang watched Xiao Qin, who was sitting upright, smiling and in high spirits as he toasted the guests, the rage in his heart blazed even stronger. If Ao Lang could directly attack, he would have done so long ago and personally dealt with Xiao Qin. But Ao Lang, who was drinking wine, suddenly smashed the jade wine flask in his hand to the ground. The wine flask shattered, and the peak-quality wine spilled all over the ground, giving off an alluring fragrance. Ao Lang's actions startled everyone. The originally noisy platform immediately fell silent. Although the many guests were shocked by Ao Lang's actions, they were not surprised. The other party was not here to drink wine and celebrate. How could he just sit there and do nothing? He must have been thinking of ways to cause trouble at every moment to prevent the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony from continuing. Furthermore, Ao Lang had given Xiao Qin a congratulatory gift earlier. Originally, he wanted to slap Xiao Qin in the face. In the end, Xiao Qin ruthlessly slapped him back. After holding it in for so long, he definitely could not hold it in anymore. Xiao Qin calmed himself down and waved his hand to stop the enraged Dragon's Gate's people. Then, he raised his eyelids and looked at the Western Sea Dragon King. He said, "Senior, are you not satisfied with the wine or with this wine flask? I'll get someone to change it for Senior." The Western Sea Dragon King did not say anything. He just smiled coldly. After a while, he picked up his wine cup and said slowly, "Blue Dragon King, do you really think that we came all the way here to congratulate you and drink wine? Do you know why I smashed this wine flask? This wine is a bona fide peak-quality wine. However, this wine flask is only made of 100-year-old fine jade. How can such an inferior wine flask be worthy of peak-quality wine?" Xiao Qin was very intelligent. How could he not know what the other party meant? He said calmly, "If Senior Ao has something to say, just say it directly. There is no need to beat around the bush." Ao Lang said indifferently. Since you want me to say it directly, then I will say it directly to you. This wine flask is you, Blue Dragon King. The Dragon's Gate is this peak-quality wine. As an inferior wine flask, you cannot contain peak-quality wine. If you force it, others will not be able to bear it and smash you to death. If you insist on doing things your own way today and re-establish the Dragon's Gate, you will end up like this wine flask. Bang, bang, bang. With Ao Lang taking the lead, the elders of the other Holy Lands, ancient noble clans, and divine dragon palaces of the four seas all smashed their wine flasks to the ground. Immediately, crackling sounds rang out endlessly, all of them the sound of wine flasks shattering. They are going to fall out with each other. The Western Sea Dragon Kings group decided to shed all pretense of cordiality. They no longer beat around the bush and directly threatened Shao Chen. The atmosphere turned dangerous once again. A huge battle might break out at the slightest disagreement. Interesting. A sovereign martial emperor leading a group of greater heavenly Emperor Wu scoundrels are acting shamelessly. What is even more laughable is that their opponent is just a consummation blue-robed emperor. The only one who can push them to this extent is probably the Blue Dragon King Shao Chen. So many major characters are here, but only the Western Sea Dragon King jumped out. He is probably really desperate. After today, the reputation of this group of people will be completely tarnished. This joyous scene on the tall platform did not surprise the other guests or the other cultivators in the plaza. In reality, no one held much hope for Shao Chen's re-establishment of the Dragon's Gate. The surprising thing was that the Blue Dragon King Shao Chen could receive so many congratulatory gifts and fly around in front of so many outstanding talents. Ao Lang stood up and looked at Shao Chen. Then, he said coldly, not speaking? Does not saying anything mean that you have a chance? You can't be so naive as to think that you can successfully hold the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony after receiving a few congratulatory gifts, right? Shao Chen's expression remained calm as he swirled the wine cup in his hand. Then, he looked in a certain direction in the sky. Under the endless layers of clouds, there were many big shots sitting on the battleships, looking coldly at everything that was happening here. Chapter 1279. Shao Chen withdrew his gaze and ignored Ao Lang. He drained the wine in his cup in one go and took a deep breath. Shao Chen gave Imochen a thumbs up and smiled. The wine that the other party brewed was indeed of peak quality. However, Imochen felt so anxious that she nearly cried. None of the honored guests on the invitation had come. Now that the Western Sea Dragon King had pushed the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony to this extent, Shao Chen could still laugh. Seeing Shao Chen laugh, the Western Sea Dragon King's rage intensified. His voice turned heavier as he said, Blue Dragon King, to think that you can still laugh? Don't think that you can overturn the heavens just because you have great luck. In our eyes, you are still a minor character, an ant that we can squash to death at any time. Are you done yet? You better shut the *CK up for this old man. You keep saying the same thing over and over again. Shao Chen suddenly shouted, his voice sounding like thunder. His furious expression made his delicate face look extremely frightening. Pop! Shao Chen heavily smashed the wine cup in his hand to the ground. Then, he shouted himself hoarse. Are you still going to say that the Haotian Prime is blocked and cannot come? Similarly, the Fox King is blocked and cannot come. The 13 great bandits of the Black Sea, the Northern Sea Alliance, all the honored guests that I invited cannot come. Today, no one can help me. As long as I continue with this Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony, I will shatter like the wine cup. You used the wine cup as an analogy to mock me for overestimating myself, jumping up and down like a clown. Do you really think that I cannot guess the meaning behind your words? The Western Sea Dragon Kings group was somewhat startled by Shao Chen's words. Their voices trembled as they asked, How did you know? You should not know. That was right. The reason why they dared to fall out with Shao Chen was that none of the honored guests that Shao Chen invited could make it today. The Western Sea Dragon King contacted the corresponding people to block the other party, ensuring that the other party could not reach Heavenly Dragon City. In their opinion, without these big shots, no matter how much Shao Chen jumped around, he was just a clown. How could Shao Chen not know that none of his distinguished guests had arrived? With a slight guess, he could figure out the reason. Ever since he received the congratulatory gift, he had never been complacent. In fact, she already knew what he was thinking. Shao Chen enunciated every word as he looked at Ao Lang. Let me tell you this, Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang. For the sake of the responsibility in their hearts, some people can disregard everything and risk their lives. You will never understand. I, Shao Chen, have a red heart and warm blood. Even if you dig out my heart and bleed me dry, I, Shao Chen, will complete this Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony to the end. When facing Shao Chen's aura, the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang, who originally held a suppressive advantage, felt somewhat stunned. He thought that after Shao Chen learned the truth, his face would turn pale and he would submit obediently. Who could have thought that the other party would be so vicious, not backing down at all? If one did not go crazy in a desperate situation, one would not survive. Facing Shao Chen's craziness and persistence, the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang was stunned for a moment before recovering his wits. In the end, he was a seventh heaven martial emperor, a major character on the same level as Emperor Wu. Having lived for a long time, he had experienced many things. Although a person like Shao Chen might not appear even once every 10,000 years, at this moment, Shao Chen was much weaker than the Western Sea Dragon King. They were not existences on the same level. As long as none of those major characters came, no matter how much Shao Chen jumped around, he would still be an ant before the Western Sea Dragon King. Furthermore, the Western Sea Dragon King still had many greater Heavenly Emperor Wu of varying strength by his side. With his great might, it was impossible for Shao Chen to truly scare him. Ao Lang said coldly, "Dig out your heart and bleed? There is no need for me to go through so much trouble to kill you. However, don't worry. I, the Western Sea Dragon King, will not go to the extent of making a move on you. Since I know your persistence, I will not ask you anymore. We will just sit here and let you jump around as you please. However, if you want to open this Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, let me tell you, there is no way." Ao Lang waved his hand and sat down with the others, looking coldly at Shao Chen. "What are you looking at? All of you scrammed to the side." Seeing that the other guests on the tall platform had not left yet, Ao Lang frowned and scolded them. The others immediately left, not daring to linger. "As for the rest of you, scram right now as well." Immediately, Ao Lang stretched out his hand and pointed. The tens of thousands of guests drinking and chatting in the plaza were all within the range Ao Lang mentioned. This group of people felt dissatisfied, feeling that this Western Sea Dragon King was too tyrannical. However, he was a seventh heaven martial emperor. Furthermore, he had won over many holy lands and ancient noble clans. With such might, no one dared to go against him. Ao Lang looked at the red-eyed Shao Chen and said, "Don't look at me. Let me tell you this. With me around, your Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony will not be able to continue. I will not dig out your heart or bleed you. I will just sit here and not move, and I can prevent your Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony from continuing." After Ao Lang shed all pretense of cordiality, no one could find a way to deal with him. Such a shameless method made Shao Chen's hot-bloodedness stifled in his chest, unable to vent it. When the people of the Holy Land seated beside Ao Lang saw Shao Chen's sullen appearance, they revealed faint smiles on their faces. They rejoiced in their hearts. What could be happier than this? Being able to see this Qing Emperor suffer a setback. Furthermore, the Western Sea Dragon King was there to hold the fort. What could be more comfortable than this? If there was anything unhappy, The only unhappy thing was that Xiao Chen had flown into the sky and received 14 gargantuan weapons in front of them. However, now, the situation had returned to normal. As long as the Dragon's Gate could not be re-established, the Blue Dragon King's luck would fall. The humiliation he suffered earlier would no longer matter. Puxi. As Xiao Chen felt agitated, he could not help vomiting a mouthful of blood. When the blood splattered on the tall platform, it was a startling scarlet. Xiao Chen. Big Brother Xiao. The expressions of Emochin and the others changed as they ran over to support Xiao Chen. Their faces showed both anger and worry. On the Lunar Palace's warship in the distant clouds, Yu Bingyun's heart tightened when she saw Xiao Chen suddenly vomiting blood. She wanted to go down and investigate. Bing-er. A voice came from the palace of the warship. Yu Bingyun showed a conflicted expression as she stopped. When the people on the other warships saw this scene, they all revealed cold smiles. Although this Xiao Chen was strong, he was still human in the end, not a god. The Western Sea Dragon King and the others glanced over and understood. Earlier, when Xiao Chen received the 12 gargantuan weapons, he had sustained significant hidden injuries. This was especially so after he used some heaven-defying arts that were not easy to use, adding injuries on top of injuries. Furthermore, Xiao Chen had not rested properly during the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. Now, he could no longer hold on, and his injuries erupted. As the Western Sea Dragon King looked at the pale Xiao Chen, he smiled faintly and said, "Everyone, look carefully. I did not attack him. He vomited blood himself. Don't blame it on me." Haha. It turns out that his injuries are not light. I really thought that he would be completely fine after receiving our congratulatory gift. The Blue Dragon King is merely SOSO. As the group looked at the vomiting Xiao Chen, they mocked him coldly. All of them felt extremely comfortable in their hearts. They thought back to when Xiao Chen received the congratulatory gifts and invited them up, looking boundlessly graceful. It turned out that there was such a miserable moment. Emochin glared at the Western Sea Dragon King and said, "Don't go overboard." The Western Sea Dragon King laughed loudly and said, "What's wrong? Little girl, are you not going to let us speak?" This fellow overestimated himself. Who else can he blame? Shameless! Emochin shouted angrily. She could no longer endure it, so she directly charged over. A flaming holy cannon appeared above her head. She bathed in a fiery light as she threw a palm strike at Ao Lang. The Book of Heavenly Works? Little girl, you have some fortuitous encounters. Perhaps in another 100 years, you might be a match for me. Now, go back to where you came from. The eyes of Ao Lang and the other Holy Land elders lit up when they saw that holy cannon. They did not care about Emochin, who was charging over. The difference was too great. Even with the Book of Heavenly Works, she was just an ant-like existence to them. Puxi. The pale-faced Xiao Chen looked at the berserk Emochin. His heart sank. He pushed off with his feet and arrived first despite moving later. Then, he placed his palm on Emochin's shoulder, blocking her in front. Ao Lang, who had been preparing to attack, smiled faintly and said, "Interesting. The Blue Dragon King truly lives up to his reputation as the Blue Dragon King. Despite being so injured, he is still so fast. Good movement technique. However, since I already made a move, I might as well not stop. Let's see how strong the Blue Dragon King's movement technique is." After Ao Lang spoke, he raised his palm. Flames immediately surged, and a fire dragon made of primordial energy charged at Xiao Chen with bared fangs and brandished claws. This move was not very strong, just a casual strike from Ao Lang. However, in Xiao Chen's current state, it was not easy for him to receive or dodge. Bang! Xiao Chen did his best to dodge while carrying Emochin. In the end, he was only injured by the shock waves of this palm strike and did not suffer any major injuries. Your movement technique is pretty good. This broadened my horizons. When the group of people saw Xiao Chen's sorry state, they guffawed loudly. Damn it! The people of the Dragon's Gate all felt frustrated. However, they could not do anything to this group of seated major characters. As Xiao Chen stood up, blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. When he saw these major characters laughing so happily, rage blazed in his heart. Xiao Chen had long expected that the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony would be an extremely dangerous ordeal. However, he had not expected it to be this difficult. He did not even have a chance to put his life on the line. However, Xiao Chen had no regrets in his heart. As he said, Ao Lang and the others would never understand his persistence. Blue Dragon King, I already ruined your Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. Do you regret it now? Back then, I already told you that the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony could not be held. You talked to me about the bigger picture. Now, do you know what the bigger picture is? The bigger picture is on my side. Ao Lang, who felt that he already grasped the initiative, spoke with the tone of a victor as he looked at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen smiled and said, The bigger picture? What you can see is only the smaller picture. The luck of your Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace is already exhausted. All you can do is lean towards my Heavenly Star Island. Unfortunately, you blocked this path yourself. Even if you cannot hold the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony today, the fate of your Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace cannot be changed. You think that I am a clown. However, in my eyes you are the true clown. You are jumping up and down very vigorously, but many people are laughing at you for being a fool. Chapter 1280. Your bones are really hard. 3 months ago you made my son kneel. Today I will make you kneel. Let's see if your bones are really that hard. At this moment, not only did Xiao Chen not lower his head, but he even mocked him. Xiao Chen pointed out the thing that Ao Lang feared the most in his heart. His expression immediately changed dramatically. Try touching him if you dare. Just as Xiao Chen prepared to activate the Blue Dragon Heaven-locking formation, a cold, emotionless voice came from the originally empty plaza. Who is it? Ao Lang looked around and saw a very eye-catching lone figure in the empty Blue Dragon Plaza. In reality, it would be hard for this figure not to be eye-catching. Everyone else in the plaza had been scared away by Ao Lang. Only this person remained. Do you wish to die? I already said for you all to scram. Who gave you the guts to remain? As Ao Lang looked at the person drinking wine with his back facing him, a flame flared in his heart, and he felt a murderous intent. As Xiao Chen looked at that figure, he wondered, who is this person? This person seems a little familiar, but I cannot recognize him. He does not seem to be the honored guest that I invited. Loud laughter resounded. Then, that figure turned around and looked at Ao Lang. Who gave me the courage to sit here? Do I need your permission to sit here? I am Dugu Kwang of the Human Demon Sea. I am here to congratulate the Blue Dragon King on re-establishing the Dragon's Gate. This person was Dugu Kwang, Dugu Ao's father. He was a sovereign martial emperor of the Human Demon Sea with overwhelming strength. It was even harder for a demon mixed blood to advance to sovereign martial emperor. However, once they succeeded, their strength would be extremely horrifying. After clearing 6 heavens, one could be called a sovereign martial emperor. Ao Lang was only a 7th heaven martial emperor. Among sovereign martial emperors, he was considered a low-level existence. However, this demon king Dugu Kwang was someone that even Xiao Chen could not see through. He did not know which heaven martial emperor he was. However, Xiao Chen was certain that Dugu Kwang was definitely stronger than the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang. Furthermore, he was not just slightly stronger. Based on Ao Lang's current expression, Xiao Chen could guess. However, Xiao Chen did not invite Dugu Kwang, as he had only met the other party once. Furthermore, the other party was a human demon. Xiao Chen could not guess what the other party was thinking, so he did not send an invitation. However, unexpectedly, at this crucial moment, the honored guest that he invited was blocked. Instead, it was Dugu Kwang, an unexpected existence, who came uninvited. Dugu Kwang. It was not just Ao Lang's expression that changed. The expressions of the other Holy Land elders and the ancient noble clans all changed as well. Clearly, they had all heard of this ruthless person's reputation. In the sea of clouds, those great figures who were watching coldly from the sidelines also tightly furrowed their brows. Dugu Kwang traversed 1 kilometer in one step and arrived at the tall platform. Then, he looked at the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang, and heavy disdain flashed in his eyes. You either scram now, or I will beat you until you scram. Domineering. The Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang, who had been yelling at the others to scram, had not expected to have such a moment. This was truly carefree. The guests who saw this scene from afar all applauded and cheered. I'm late. I didn't expect things to turn out like this. Suddenly, a figure flashed on the tall platform. It was Lan Xiaofeng walking over, appearing somewhat fatigued. Master! Lan Xiaobai and Lan Tianji said calmly, revealing joyful smiles on their faces. Ao Lang said in disbelief, Lan Xiaofeng, why are you here? I clearly sent 3 vice palace masters to block you. Lan Xiaofeng replied calmly, naturally, I killed those 3. I have not truly made a move for a long time already. Even the 3 greater heavenly Emperor Wu had to spend a lot of time dealing with them. It looks like I have really aged. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Sonic booms resounded, and 13 old men with surging baleful auras descended from the sky. All of them were covered in blood, giving off a bandit air that was different from the heavenly starry ocean's cultivators. The 13 great bandits of the Black Sea are here to congratulate little brother Shao Chen on re-establishing the Dragon's Gate. Horror flashed in Lan Xiaofeng's eyes. He said in disbelief, that's impossible. You 13 great bandits of the Black Sea should be trapped in the cyclic Astral Lord's 9 heavens astral formation. Humph! We each sacrificed 100 years of our lifespans. If we worked together, breaking his formation would be easy. The group of Holy Land elders and ancient noble clan old men beside Lan Xiaofeng also slowly revealed expressions of horror in their eyes. They all felt that something was wrong with this matter. What's going on? The 13 great bandits of the Black Sea still came. It's over. 1 Dugu Kwang is already enough to drive us crazy. Now that the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea are here at the same time, what should we do? Shao Chen felt an indescribable joy in his heart. He did not know how to describe his current emotions. Originally, he thought that the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea would not be able to come and that he would not be able to hold the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. Who could have imagined that the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea would be willing to sacrifice 100 years of their lifespans to break the formation for a promise? Ha! Little brother Shao Chen, we, the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea, promised you that we would come, so we will definitely come. Whoever dares to cause trouble at this re-establishment ceremony will be making life difficult for us, the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea. The Blood Shark Sovereign laughed loudly as he led the 13 great bandits onto the tall platform. Sweat poured down Ao Lang's forehead continuously. If it was just Dugu Kwang, Ao Lang could still put up a fight. However, with the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea here, he no longer had any chance of turning things around. The Northern Sea Alliance comes to congratulate the Blue Dragon King on re-establishing the Dragon's Gate. A warship flew over from a distance. Yi Chen stood on the warship, waving his hand at Shao Chen. He smiled endlessly and said, Brother Shao Chen, for the sake of defeating those 2 undying old men from the 5 Poison Sect and the Heavenly Province Academy, my father even used a primordial emperor treasure. You have to entertain us properly before we can make up for it. Standing at the side, Yi Chen's father smiled faintly. Then, He performed a cupped fist salute to Xiao Chen and said, "Little friend Xiao Chen, this ye will definitely do his best to fulfill the promise I made to you. Young Master Xiao, we were delayed by some matters on the way. Yao Yen is late." The thousand-feathered snake, an ancient mutated beast, carried Empress Yao Yen, who wore a crown of thorns, over slowly. When Xiao Chen saw the smile on Yao Yan's face and the other seniors, he felt strangely moved. Xiao Chen did not have many friends. However, at the crucial moment, these friends were definitely reliable. The sudden appearance of the various major characters flabbergasted the honored guests outside the plaza. This is too exaggerated. Not to mention the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea coming at the same time for the first time in history. Even the Northern Sea Alliance's alliance chief personally came. Xiao Chen's charm is really great. The 13 great bandits were willing to sacrifice 100 years of their lifespan for him. The Northern Sea Alliance's alliance chief even used a primordial emperor treasure. Even the merfolk race's empress came. This Yao Yen Empress is incredible. She is already the ruler of the chaotic demonic sea, a major character famous in the region. To think that she actually came as well. On the tall platform, the originally arrogant Western Sea Dragon Kings group trembled in their seats, their complexions pale. The Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang was in an even worse state. He continuously used his hand to wipe the sweat off his forehead. Occasionally, he looked at a certain cloud in the distant sky. However, there were no movements from that cloud, making him even more flustered. In that cloud layer, the Heavenly Province Academy's sect master, the 5 poison sects sect master, and the people of the divine dragon palaces of the 4 seas all looked at a warship surrounded by stars. The reason was none other than the cyclic astral lord, a prime seated on that warship. Inside the warship, the cyclic astral lord frowned heavily. This was the scene that he did not want to see the most. If the cyclic astral lord did not want to attend the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony and personally come out to resolve it, it would be equivalent to falling out with the Thunder King. The cyclic astral lord did not want to bear such consequences. However, right now, the Western Sea Dragon King clearly could not control the situation. Instead, he became a fish on the chopping block, at the mercy of others. If the cyclic astral lord did not take the lead, the Holy Lord of the other Holy Lands would definitely not be willing to do so. Cyclic astral lord, what should we do? Make your stance clear. The Heavenly Province Academy's sect master said indifferently. The 5 poison sects sect master also said, "As long as you step forward, we will definitely follow." The clan heads of the other ancient noble clans spoke up together. As long as the cyclic astral lord was willing to step forward, they would be willing to follow. The Dragon's Gate was a nightmare. The peak factions of the heavenly starry ocean did not want to see the Dragon's Gate appear. They were even more afraid of a second Qing emperor appearing. As long as a prime led them, they were willing to pay the price of offending the Thunder King to stop the re-establishment of the Dragon's Gate. Never mind. Stars flickered in the cyclic astral lord's eyes as he finally made his decision. However, just as he raised his foot to take a step forward, he suddenly felt an aura that even he feared. The cyclic astral lord's expression changed slightly, and he withdrew his foot. Then, he said sullenly, "Let's depart and return to the cyclic astral palace." The warship immediately turned around. Bathed in the cyclic astral palace, it quickly left this cloud layer. The other holy lords all showed confused expressions, not knowing what was going on. However, seeing the cyclic astral lord do this, they knew that something was wrong. Let's go. Back to the 5 poison sect. Back to the Heavenly Province Academy. Back to Great Sun Island. Soon, only the Lunar Palace's warship remained in the cloud layer. The Lunar Palace's palace master looked into the distance and sighed. Back to Bright Moon City. Yu Bingyun ran over anxiously and asked, "Master, what's wrong?" "It's fine. As you wished, the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony can proceed smoothly. The Haotian Prime, Ingzongtian, is here. Yu Bingyun's face lit up with joy. However, she immediately withdrew her smile and cautiously glanced at her master. After all, her master especially hated the descendants of the Qing Emperor. Suddenly, a strong aura encased the Blue Dragon Plaza, inspiring fear in everyone, making them feel an urge to prostrate themselves on the ground. Two figures appeared out of nowhere, a man and a woman. The man had an impressive appearance. It was like all the light in the world gathered on him. He gave off a strong, supreme, unrivaled aura. The woman looked very beautiful, with a small bird perched on her shoulder. When she saw Xiao Qin, she greeted him from afar, revealing a gentle smile. "Junior brother, first senior sister is here to see you." Plop! The Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang directly fell off his chair, startled into paling. Ao Lang knew that he had gone overboard. The Prime, Ingzongtian, was here. "First senior sister," Xiao Chen called out joyfully. This was truly an unexpected pleasant surprise. According to the news he received previously, first senior sister had gone to the astral battlefield. Unexpectedly, she managed to rush back. Ingzongtian carried Shui Lingling and landed on the vast platform with a few flashes. Then, he looked around and smiled. "Little brother's charm is rather great. I was worried that you would not be able to handle the situation. It looks like that was unnecessary. Let me tell you something. The Fox King helped to delay Emperor Forsaken. There is also the heaven-punishing corpse god. He probably will not be able to come." Chapter 1281. This startled Xiao Chen. "You blocked two primes at the same time? Are you alright?" "There is no need to panic. I was just delaying them. It was not a life-and-death battle. I really have to thank him properly. If not for him delaying them, I do not know when I would have arrived," Ingzongtian said calmly. He hid the strong aura of a prime very well. "Ingzongtian, you have not undergone your sovereign tribulation for 1,000 years. Now you underwent 3 in one go. You have left us old fellows far behind." The Blood Shark Sovereign led the 13 great bandits as he laughed. Clearly, they were all familiar with each other. Ingzongtian turned his head back and laughed loudly. "Blood Shark Sovereign, we have not met for several hundred years. Don't insult me like that." Many of the Emperor Wu's present rushed over to greet Ingzongtian. This newly advanced prime was indeed very attractive. He even overshadowed the main character, Xiao Chen. "First senior sister, why are you back from the astral battlefield?" Xiao Chen asked joyfully. The astral battlefield was extremely dangerous. It was great news to see his first senior sister safe and sound. Shui Lingling smiled and said, "I'll tell you after the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony ends." Xiao Chen nodded and said, "After the re-establishment ceremony ends, I have something to give you as well." "What is it?" "I'm not telling you now." "What was the gift?" Naturally, it was the Emperor Yi Shooting Sun bow that Xiao Chen had left in the Universe Ring for a long time. Although it no longer had an item spirit, it was once ranked 5th on the Divine Weapon ranking. When Ingzongtian arrived, the high platform immediately turned lively. The people in Emperor Wu's circle were familiar with each other in the first place. However, there were no good opportunities for them to meet. Now that they were together, there were naturally many topics to talk about. Immediately, the Western Sea Dragon King and the others felt like they were ignored. They felt very uneasy, all of them sweating profusely, their complexions pale. Seeing that there was no movement in the clouds, the martial emperors understood that the patriarchs and star lords had probably left. With so many sovereign martial emperors and the arrival of Ingzongtian, even if Zodiac Hall, the Heavenly Province Academy, and the 5 Poison Sect brought out their trump cards, they would not be able to deter this group of people. The re-establishment of the Dragon Sect was inevitable and unstoppable. Xiao Chen continued to watch from the clouds, watching as Xiao Chen successfully held the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. Wasn't he just making himself frustrated? The elders of the 3 immortal holy lands and the old men of the ancient noble clans all looked at the instigator of this matter, Ao Lang, with hatred in their eyes. At this moment, Ao Lang was in a daze. He was only thinking of how to escape so that he would not suffer too much humiliation. He simply could not care about the gazes of this group of people. Everyone, we seem to have forgotten about some people. Exhilarating smiled faintly and focused his gaze on the distracted Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang. Immediately, many cold gazes shot at the Western Sea Dragon King like sharp knives. Exhilarating said indifferently, "You are a 7th Heaven Emperor Wu. You are not very strong, but you are rather capable. You even managed to contact Emperor Forsaken, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, and the Heaven-Punishing Corpse God. Haotian Prime, you are exaggerating. You are exaggerating." The Western Sea Dragon King no longer had any unruly aura. Not to mention Exhilarating, most of the people here were much stronger than him. As for Exhilarating, he was in existence on a completely different level. He was not even worth looking at. When Exhilarating said that, the Western Sea Dragon King's heart thumped heavily, feeling incredibly nervous. The Blood Shark Sovereign smiled coldly and said, "You are indeed quite capable. We just left the Black Sea, and the Supreme Elder of Zodiac Hall used the 9 Heavenly Star Formation to trap us to death. That is a formation that the cyclic astral lord of every generation continuously developed to deal with primes. To think that Zodiac Hall received us so politely." Ao Lang wiped the sweat off his forehead and said anxiously, "This has nothing to do with me. I did not know that the cyclic astral lord would be so decisive. I was just saying it casually, just casually. I did not promise them any benefit." The Flame Rock Sovereign said angrily, "What a great casual remark. It caused us to lose 100 years of our lifespan. Otherwise we would still be trapped in there." "Brother Ao Lang, there is no need to be so humble. My Northern Sea Alliance was blocked by those 2 undying old men from the 5 Poison Sect and the Heavenly Province Academy. They said that they listened to your arrangement." Dugu Kwang glanced at Ao Lang indifferently and said, "It has been many years since anyone dared to tell me to scram. Only you have the courage to do so." Before the murderous gazes of the many major characters, Ao Lang felt very frightened. His legs even turned somewhat soft. Now, Ao Lang finally understood why all those major characters were so enthusiastic when he jumped out to take the lead. The consequences were simply too horrifying. With so many sovereign martial emperors staring at him, there was even a prime watching without anyone noticing. This was even more unbearable than killing him. For more than 1,000 years, the Western Sea Dragon King had never felt so sullen before. Right. The Western Sea Dragon King made us do this. This time we are in the wrong. This sword accompanied us for 100 years. Take it as a congratulatory gift to the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment." An old man from an ancient noble clan stepped forward and offered a sword to Xiao Chen, trying to use this to escape. Xiao Chen looked coldly at this person. This person's earlier mockery still rang in his ears. However, the affairs of the world were unpredictable. In the blink of an eye, this person lowered his head to Xiao Chen and even casually stepped on the Western Sea Dragon King. There was no need to pay too much attention to such a person. Xiao Chen received the sword and said, "Not bad. It is a good sword. However, I seem to recall that you already sent a congratulatory gift." The old man smiled embarrassedly and said, "It's not a problem. I just sent one more to represent my sincerity. I wish the Blue Dragon King a smooth re-establishment of the Dragon's Gate. This old man cannot remain here any longer. I'll take my leave now." After saying that, the old man flew off, not willing to stay a moment longer. With this person taking the lead, the many remaining elders followed suit, pushing all the blame to the Western Sea Dragon King. After leaving behind a congratulatory gift, they lowered their heads and left. Xiao Chen did not stop them. Things had changed with the passage of time. His mental state had already become much more indifferent. Right now, Xiao Chen was not strong enough. Aside from venting his anger, forcefully humiliating these people would not benefit him at all. You people are extremely shameless. When the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang saw this group of people kicking him while he was down, he became so angry that his entire body trembled. Ing Zongtian laughed loudly and said, "How rare! To think that you can say the word shameless. Little brother, tell me how to deal with him. Today, he broke all the rules. There is no need to be polite with him." From Ing Zongtian's calm words, the Western Sea Dragon King felt a murderous intent. A chill immediately ran down his spine. He looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Blue Dragon King, I was in the wrong today. Give me a chance." "I promise," Xiao Chen directly interrupted the Western Sea Dragon King. "There is no need to promise anything. Just scram now." Ao Lang was somewhat in disbelief. "That simple? Did you not hear me clearly? I told you to scram now," Xiao Chen said coldly. "Western Sea Dragon King, scram quickly. Scram." The tens of thousands of guests, who had been chased away by the Western Sea Dragon King's arrogant words, found an opportunity to vent their frustrations and shouted at the same time. The tens of thousands of people shouted "scram" at the same time. Their auras were overwhelming, shaking the sea of clouds. This was probably the meaning of the saying, "Every dog has its day." Ao Lang, who had arrogantly told everyone to scram earlier, had not expected that retribution would happen to him so quickly. Being told to scram by tens of thousands of people at the same time was a rare sight. Ao Lang's face alternated between green and red like he was on fire. I'll go now." Ao Lang held his breath and soared into the air. In the blink of an eye, he traveled 10 kilometers. Ing Zongtian said indifferently, "Letting him go just like that is letting him off too easily. Brother Xiao Chen, you can't just end up hurting your friendship." A murderous intent flashed in Ing Zongtian's eyes as he raised his hand and threw a palm strike. The force traveled 10 kilometers and landed heavily on Ao Lang. Pu Ci. Ao Lang vomited a mouthful of blood. His internal organs were all shattered. Then, he fell from the sky like a broken kite and crashed heavily into the ground. After Ao Lang landed, the force of the palm strike did not diminish. It sent him tumbling for more than 500 kilometers. Ao Lang stumbled along the way, covered in wounds and suffering. This gentle palm strike showed the tyrannical air of a prime. After chasing away the Western Sea Dragon King's group, all the guests returned. The atmosphere of the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony became truly lively. Everyone drank to their heart's content, chatting and laughing. It was rare for these greater heavenly martial emperors to gather together. Naturally, they would not miss out on this opportunity. For example, the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea pulled Ing Zongtian over and took turns pouring wine down his throat. They downed cup after cup of the peak wine that Imo Chen brewed, making one feel heartache. "Xiao Chen, as the host, you have not offered us a toast yet." "This is not right," the Flame Rock Sovereign said with a smile. That's right. At least 3 cups for each person." "How can 3 cups be enough? You don't know that this fellow had a drinking contest with someone in our Dark City, drinking 1,000 cup. That became a legend. There is such a thing? In that case, I have to compete with the Blue Dragon King in terms of alcohol tolerance today." When the Flame Rock Sovereign spoke, everyone laughed and jeered, insisting on Xiao Chen offering a toast. Furthermore, Xiao Chen could not even drink 3 cup. Xiao Chen smiled and held up the wine flask, directly offering toast. Every time he toasted someone, he drank a flask of wine. He was very sincere, prompting everyone to clap and cheer. The success of the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony today had a lot to do with the preparations of the esteemed guests and the people of the Dragon's Gate. After toasting all the guests, Xiao Chen started to offer toasts to his friends in Heaven Dragon City. Emochun, Lan Xiaobai, Lan Tianji, Yuchensi, and so on, not missing a single one. The activities of the re-establishment ceremony proceeded in an orderly fashion. After that, no one interfered. Everything went smoothly. Xiaoqun, it is time to take off the dragon banner. Lan Xiaobai sent a voice projection. Xiaoqun nodded. The sky had already turned dark, and dusk was approaching. The various activities of the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony were now at the final step. With the Haotian Prime here and the many esteemed guests holding down the fort, no one dared to play any tricks. The re-establishment of the Dragon's Gate was unstoppable. Xiaoqun felt heavy in his heart. The Dragon's Gate, which had been destroyed for 10,000 years, was finally going to be re-established in his hands. From now on, Xiaoqun had one less thing to worry about. He had lived up to his responsibilities as a descendant of the Qing Emperor. He also had sufficient confidence to return to the Sky Dome realm and face his father, who chased him out. Many thanks to everyone for coming, allowing the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony to proceed smoothly. Xiaoqun will never forget such kindness. I will definitely repay it in the future. Chapter 1282. Xiaoqun stood up and bowed to all the honored guests present. These friends had all paid a great price to rush over, so they were definitely worthy of his bow. Ingzongtian smiled faintly. The honored guests present did not stand on ceremony either. They all revealed smiles as they accepted Xiaoqun's bow. Let us all witness the reappearance of my Xiao clan's Dragon's Gate. Xiaoqun showed a solemn expression as he raised his hand and threw a palm strike. Whoosh! The azure-colored dragon banner covering the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet gently flew up and peeled off layer by layer. The banner fluttered, and the blue dragon embroidered on it looked like it came to life. The many layers of banners and the swimming blue dragon attracted everyone's attention. Boom! An azure-colored dragon chi gathered into a pillar of light and soared into the sky. The blue dragon on the banner circled the pillar of light and quickly swam around it. Emochun took a deep breath. She knew that this was the most exciting moment. A medallion appeared in her hand. This was the Heaven Dragon medallion that controlled the entire Heaven Dragon city. Aside from activating the defensive formation in the city, it had many other special effects. This allowed Emochun, who held the Heaven Dragon medallion, to roam around the city with people like Emperor Wu. As Emochun formed hand seals with her right hand, the entire Heaven Dragon city became like a coiled-up dragon. It shook its head and wagged its tail, coming to life. Dragon roars resounded, resonating with the azure-colored dragon chi on the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. Invisibly, the luck of the world quickly gathered towards the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. Luck was ethereal and formless. However, when the luck reached a certain level, it would still show some mysterious phenomena. For example, layers of clouds churned above the Heaven Dragon city. The dark clouds in the surroundings looked like a vast army of horses galloping over endlessly. Lightning flashed, and dragon roars rang out endlessly. Indeed, after the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony successfully concluded, all the luck of the world gathered here. This Heaven Dragon city has many tricks up its sleeves. I wonder who built it. The buildings in the city are like an overwhelming formation, completely merged with the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. Incredible! With this, it is likely that the decline of the Western Sea Dragon King in the Western Sea is even more unavoidable. The great figures present all had their own discerning eyes. They all expressed their opinions. He watched as the pillar of light formed by the dragon energy soared into the sky, causing the clouds within 5,000 kilometers to gather. Xiaoqun's heart overflowed with lofty sentiments. He had an impulse to laugh out loud. The Dragon's Gate, which had been destroyed for 10,000 years, was finally recognized by the world today. Inheriting great luck, it would be passed down from generation to generation. The Dragon's Gate would not die, continuing its legend. Boom boom boom. Just at this moment, in the sea region near Heavenly Star Island, towering waves suddenly surged up in all directions, causing the entire place to shake intensely. "What's going on?" countless people exclaimed in amazement. The waves surged into the sky and could be clearly seen from thousands of miles away. What kind of evil beast came out from the bottom of the sea? Or was there someone hiding in the dark, trying to disrupt the Dragon's Gate, which was gathering luck? Xiao Qin frowned slightly. Right now, the newly reborn Dragon's Gate was using the geography of the Heaven Dragon City to gather luck. The longer this lasted, the more benefits it would obtain. If something happened at this moment and the Dragon Chi was interrupted, it would not be good. It might even end prematurely. Its luck would plummet, and the auspicious sign would turn into an inauspicious sign in the blink of an eye. Everyone looked at the Haotian Prime. He was the strongest here. With him holding down the fort, would anyone dare to cause trouble? Ingzongtian smiled faintly and said, "There is no need to panic. This is a gift from the world. The gathering of great luck triggers the eruption of spirit veins." Right after Ingzongtian spoke, 8 beams of light gathered from the spiritual energy of the world soared into the sky, turning into golden dragons. These dragons flew towards the pillar of light of the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. When they touched the pillar of light, they immediately turned into golden rain and fell. Golden spiritual rain. These are holy spirit veins. The Dragon's Gate was just re-established, and 8 holy spirit veins broke out of the sea. This is too much of a coincidence. It is not really a coincidence. In ancient times, there were major characters who established sections. There were even king spirit veins that broke out of the sea. It looks like the world has completely acknowledged the existence of the Dragon's Gate. The gathering of 8 dragons is indeed a congratulatory gift from the world. Blue Dragon King Xiao Qin truly lives up to being an outstanding talent with great luck. Cries of astonishment rang out. Even Xiao Qin felt surprised. However, just at this moment, dark clouds appeared in the sky above the pillar of light where the Dragon Chi gathered, silently approaching. Amid the churning white clouds, that dark cloud was extremely eye-catching. Xiao Qian's heart sank. He felt like someone was causing trouble in the dark. He placed his right hand on his saber hilt and prepared to make a move. "Don't. That is a tribulation cloud, a predestined tribulation for you. You cannot escape this tribulation. You cannot dodge it or avoid it. You can only endure it," Ingzongtian said softly as he placed a hand on Xiao Qian's shoulder. He appeared rather relaxed. "However, big brother, the appearance of these tribulation clouds," Xiao Qian said somewhat worriedly. Ingzongtian smiled and said, "It's fine. The greater the luck, the greater the tribulation. Everyone in history has been like this. There is no need to worry too much about it. Just stay calm." The old characters present also consoled Xiao Qin, telling him not to worry. Actually, everyone knew that this tribulation cloud was hinting at the most crucial great tribulation of wind and fire in Xiao Qian's life. If he could clear it, then he would whip his horse and Xiao Qin would mature completely, turning from a calamity into a dragon. If he could not clear it, then naturally, it would vanish like smoke. Everything would be like a dream. He would wake up the moment he opened his eyes. As the tribulation cloud appeared, the pillar of Dragon Chi that lasted for a long time slowly vanished. The Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony also came to an end. The time of the major characters had always been precious. They would not spend the night here, so they all took their leave. Xiao Qin could not bear to part with them, so he tried to get them to stay. When he could not get them to stay, he personally sent them off. When Xiao Qin looked at Ingzongtian, this prime smiled and said, "Your first senior sister will stay here for 3 days. I have to rush back to check on the Fox King's situation." Xiao Qin revealed a smile on his face. His first senior sister not leaving was good news. However, the tribulation cloud that appeared at the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony cast a shadow over Xiao Qian's heart. He found it hard to treat it calmly, as Ingzongtian had said. After many twists and turns, the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony startled the entire Kunlun realm. In the end, it ended perfectly. The impact of this matter in the future and the various Holy Lands' headaches were not mentioned for now. In Heaven Dragon City, Xiao Chen chatted with his first senior sister, Shui Lingling, as he listened to her talk about the various things in the astral battlefield. As they chatted, Xiao Chen learned that his first senior sister was already a great perfection blue-robed emperor. Her cultivation was even stronger than that of Lan Xiaobai and Mo Chen. She had returned from the astral battlefield because she was injured. Unexpectedly, she happened to learn that Xiao Chen was re-establishing the Dragon's Gate, so she rushed over. The astral battlefield was the highest-level experiential training ground in the entire Kunlun realm. No other place could compare to it. Cultivating there would not only raise one's cultivation quickly, but one's combat prowess would also not fall behind. However, similarly, no experiential training ground in the Kunlun realm could compare to the danger of that place. The strength of the young elites of the Deep Abyss demonic race dealt a heavy blow to these outstanding talents. Furthermore, that was the astral battlefield. Even the seniors would not be able to protect you completely. That place was the true battlefield, the front line of the clash between the Kunlun realm and the Deep Abyss demonic world. Once the various races' astral fortresses fell, the Deep Abyss demonic world could open up astral paths and charge straight to the Kunlun realm. There would be no need to waste time like in the past, using the spatial tears created by the collision of the two realms to enter the Kunlun realm. Xiao Chen asked about some of the questions that concerned him. Di-Wuk Wenziren, the son of the three holy masters, Anjuanshi and the other prime's inheritors. How strong are they now? Shui Lingling smiled and replied, their strength improved very quickly. Compared to me, they are much stronger. However, they are all stuck at great perfection blue-robed emperor. None of them can advance to consummation blue-robed emperor. If they knew that despite improving so quickly in the astral battlefield, they still could not compare to you, I wonder what they would think. Xiao Chen smiled faintly, appearing rather calm and not overly complacent. He said, when I was at great perfection blue-robed emperor, I did not accumulate much. I relied on a shortcut to advance to consummation blue-robed emperor. If they could stabilize themselves at great perfection blue-robed emperor for a while, accumulating their strength, they might not be much weaker than me. Furthermore, Xiao Chen still had his tribulation in 5 years. Now, he had less than 3 years left. As for who would be able to go further in the future, it was still far from the time to see the result. That's right. Let's not talk about this for now. I have something to give you. Xiao Chen smiled and took out the ancient Emperor Yi shooting sun bow from his universe ring, handing it over. Shui Lingling received it and looked at it suspiciously. After a while, she said excitedly, this is the Emperor Yi shooting sun bow on the divine weapon ranking. Junior brother Xiao Chen, how did you get it? I once asked Master, but he could not help me find it. When Xiao Chen saw his first senior sister's happy expression, he revealed a smile as well. Since the first few years after he entered the Kunlun realm, when he was still looking up to this world, his first senior sister had helped him a lot. With such kindness, it would not be too much to use anything to repay him. As long as he liked it, it would be fine. However, it seems like the item spirit is no longer around. Right, the item spirit is indeed no longer around. However, this makes it easier for you to refine it. As long as you refine such a divine weapon, it will automatically give birth to an item spirit. At that time, it will be even closer to you, Xiao Chen explained. Shui Lingling carefully put away the Emperor Yi shooting sun bow and said with a smile, I like this bow a lot. Senior sister will not stand on ceremony with junior brother. With this bow, I will be more confident in the astral battlefield. When Xiao Chen heard this, he was startled. Senior sister, we still have to return to the astral battlefield? Shui Lingling smiled and said, that is natural. The astral battlefield is just as you said. The great perfection blue-robed emperor needs to accumulate strength. To us, the astral battlefield is the best place to return to. Xiao Chen continued asking around, asking about Bai. At the mention of Bai, Shui Lingling revealed an expression of admiration. In the astral battlefield, Bai was one of the most dazzling people. He even obtained the title of the nine-tailed spirit god. When Xiao Chen heard this, his lips curled up. Unexpectedly, that drunkard Bai would obtain such a title one day. Chapter 1283. Let's go. We should be preparing a celebratory banquet. We should also go and meet Yu Chenxi, Jinlin, and the others. Their accomplishments on this island are not low. The Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony ended successfully. Naturally, there had to be a celebratory banquet to properly reward the people of the Dragon's Gate for their hard work. Furthermore, there would be treasures from the Dragon's Gate's treasure trove and Xiao Chen's own collection to reward those who contributed. Shui Lingling smiled and said, "Good. I miss them somewhat as well. Let's see if they suffered at your place." After the bustling celebratory banquet ended, Xiao Chen returned to his own peak alone. Then, Xiao Chen took out a sage-grade medicinal pill for treating injuries from the universe ring and started to meditate. Xiao Chen had not rested properly for the entire day. Now, he needed to treat his injuries properly. Otherwise, the repercussions of deities descending would be hard to get rid of. In today's battle, Xiao Chen had blocked 14 3-kilometer-long gargantuan weapons, bringing out all his trump cards. Now, he had a clear understanding of his own strength. Xiao Chen's foundation was still far from that of the true Emperor Wu. If it were Emperor Wu with the golden body, he would not be as severely injured as Xiao Chen. Half-step golden body. This half-step was a fatal and clear weakness under his seemingly strong appearance. Now that Xiao Chen calmed down, the tribulation cloud from the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony appeared in his mind again. The moment the tribulation cloud appeared, the gathering of luck immediately came to a halt. If Xiao Chen did not get rid of this tribulation cloud, the fate of the Dragon's Gate would come to an abrupt end. No matter what, the great tribulation of wind and fire was an unavoidable tribulation. It became a great worry for Xiao Chen. Even the Flame Rock Sovereign could not imitate Xiao Chen's great tribulation of wind and fire. How strong exactly would Xiao Chen's great tribulation of wind and fire be? Perhaps I should make a trip home before the great tribulation arrives. Xiao Chen muttered to himself as he opened his eyes and finished digesting the sage-grade medicinal pill and recovering from his injuries. If the Sky Dome realm did not allow Emperor Wu to descend and clear this great tribulation of wind and fire, he would not be able to return. If he couldn't make it through, he would definitely suffer a terrible fate. He wouldn't even have the chance to return. As such, there were still more than 2 years before the tribulation. He had to make a trip back and meet the people he needed to meet. The West Ocean Dragon Palace, which was not far from the Heaven Dragon Island, was immersed in a depressing atmosphere. Everyone in the West Ocean Dragon Palace, from the high-level members to the servants, felt extremely depressed. When the luck of the Dragon's Gate gathered, the clouds in the surroundings surged towards the Dragon's Gate like a vast army. They all saw the huge mysterious phenomenon. Everyone knew that now that the Dragon's Gate's luck was formed, the West Sea Dragon Palace, which was closest to it, would definitely be affected. If they had approached him earlier, the West Ocean Dragon Palace might have taken this opportunity to rise to the next level. However, that was clearly impossible now. Everyone in the Divine Dragon Palace knew that when the Western Sea Dragon King rushed back from Heavenly Star Island in a sorry state, the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace and the Dragon's Gate had already fallen out. No one in the West Ocean Dragon Palace could smile when they thought about their future. In the empty palace hall, Ao Lang drank alone, feeling depressed. His sullen expression inspired fear in others. As Xiao Chen drank cup after cup of wine, he suddenly saw a trace of scarlet blood in the wine. Ao Lang roared ferociously and smashed the wine cup into powder. Blood leaked out of Ao Lang's lips uncontrollably. His face twitched in pain. Even now, the palm strike that the priming Zongtian sent out had not healed. A vast energy suppressed Xiao Chen's primordial energy, preventing his internal organs from regenerating on their own. Brother Ao, you are really severely injured this time. At this moment, in the empty hall, a black figure walked toward them. This person was clearly not from the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace. However, he did not seem to startle anyone along the way. Ao Lang felt startled. However, when he saw the appearance of this figure, his wariness slowly faded, replaced with anger. Heavenly Star Treasure Master, what are you doing here? Earlier, I sought you out to disrupt the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony, but you did not agree. Now that I failed, you are here to laugh at me? Ao Lang snorted coldly. This person was none other than Yi Ling's father, the most mysterious and unfathomable treasure master of the heavenly starry ocean. The treasure master took out a jade bottle and said, "The holy pill in this can quickly heal your injuries. What exactly are you here for?" Ao Lang received the holy pill and looked at the other party suspiciously. The treasure master smiled faintly and replied, "Nothing much. I'm just giving you a chance to take revenge in the future." 2 months later, the commotion over the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment slowly calmed down. Amid all sorts of controversy and discussions, the Dragon's Gate that was destroyed 10,000 years ago was finally re-established. Immediately, it attracted countless cultivators who wanted to join the Dragon's Gate. They all wanted to see the glory of the Dragon's Gate, to see what was different about this new Dragon's Gate. However, Xiao Chen did not open the Dragon's Gate to the public. The new disciples of the Dragon's Gate were all local youths and talented cultivators of Heavenly Star Island. Firstly, there were not enough resources. Secondly, Xiao Chen did not have any ambitions or any thoughts of expanding his strength. In the past 2 months, Xiao Chen did not do much. He only made another trip to the Black Sea and persuaded the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea to give lessons at the Dragon's Gate once a year. This was equivalent to a sovereign martial emperor personally teaching the Dragon's Gate every month, making up for the lack of peak strength of the Dragon's Gate. Now that 2 months had passed, everything in the Dragon's Gate was back on track. Actually, it was not much different from before. However, the cultivators on the island could now puff out their chests and call themselves people of the Dragon's Gate. They no longer had to refer to themselves as cultivators of Heavenly Star Island. The Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace no longer dared to come and mock the Dragon's Gate. After the lesson from the Haotian Prime, Ao Lang would not dare to mess around. At this moment, on a dueling platform on the Dragon's Gate's main peak, 4 delicate and pretty youths were waving the long sabers in their hands and practicing the basic saber techniques. A white figure watched extremely seriously from outside the dueling platform, not missing a single detail. A pretty girl with a mischievous look in her eyes stood beside this person. Naturally, this person was Xiao Chen. Standing beside him was Yu, who had been in charge of teaching the new disciples. Basic saber techniques had only 8 main points: raise, stab, intercept, block, wipe, carry, chop, and chop. The seemingly simple basic saber techniques actually encompassed everything. All the magnificent saber techniques that could be used in actual combat could not do without these 8 main points. As someone with experience, Xiao Chen understood this very well. He knew how important basic saber techniques were to a bladesman. As for why Xiao Chen was here, it naturally had something to do with you. Back then, Xiao Chen had promised her that he would take some time out to teach the new disciples. Hence, he got you to pick out a few youths with more talented saber techniques and give them some pointers. When the 4 youths learned that the Blue Dragon King would personally teach them, they were both anxious and filled with anticipation. After they saw Xiao Chen, they all brought out their abilities. All of them executed their saber techniques in a tyrannical manner or with a boundless aura, trying to attract Xiao Chen's attention. When Xiao Chen saw this, he nodded to himself. These four were all very talented. They were only 12 or 13 years old, and they already touched the threshold of saber intent. They would probably be able to comprehend saber intent in another year or two. After that, Xiao Chen corrected the saber techniques that the four youths used. Then, Xiao Chen instructed the four to focus on practicing basic saber techniques and solidifying their foundations. Furthermore, he personally demonstrated them. At first, these four youths were somewhat unconvinced. However, after they saw Xiao Chen's seemingly ever-changing yet extremely simple basic saber techniques, they no longer had any complaints. Occasionally, Xiao Chen would check on these four youths and discover that they had made good progress. What do you think, big brother Xiao Chen? Will these four treasures of mine be able to produce a saber sovereign in the future? You said proudly at the side. Xiao Chen laughed. This goal was really ambitious. Even he did not dare to say whether he could become a saber sovereign or not. Hey! What are you laughing at? Quickly say it. You was unhappy. Right now, her heart ached the most for her group of treasured disciples. Feeling helpless, Xiao Chen said objectively, they are all very talented. If nothing unexpected happens, there will be no problem for them to become martial sages. If they have sufficient opportunities, becoming Emperor Wu is not a wild guess. However, becoming a saber sovereign is a little difficult. You smiled and said, Emperor Wu is pretty good as well. If you can groom an Emperor Wu, I will be very proud. Big brother Xiao. Just at this moment, the veiled Emotion appeared on a small mountain path and called out to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen felt excited. It seemed that he had made some progress on the matter that he had entrusted her with, so he could make a move now. I will probably be back for a long time. I'll leave these disciples to you. Hearing that Xiao Chen was leaving, the four youths practicing the saber immediately stopped and asked, Sect Master, when will you be back? When you return, we will definitely cultivate our basic saber techniques to perfection. Sect Master, what are you going to do? Xiao Chen turned his head back and smiled. I'm going to meet the person who taught me the basic saber technique. Cultivate well. When I return, I will test you all. Xiao Chen saw a shadow of himself in this group of youths. He also remembered the girl who taught him the basic saber techniques at Qinyun Peak. That was a beautiful memory, engraved in his mind. No matter how much time passed, he would never forget it. The transportation formation is ready. Are you sure it can send us to the Sky Dome realm? Xiao Chen asked anxiously as he arrived beside Emochen. Emochen answered, Debao already sent someone to deliver the superior-grade astral cores that we need. The transportation formation connecting to the Sky Dome realm is in the Great Qin Nation's royal court. The Great Qin Nation's royal court? Xiao Chen had long guessed that the Great Qin Nation's royal court was a branch of the Kunlun realm's Ying clan. Now it looked like his guess was correct. Otherwise, a lower realm royal court would not be able to control a transportation formation to the upper realm. Let's go then, Xiao Chen said. However, Emochen did not move. Instead, she looked like she wanted to say something but hesitated. Xiao Chen stopped and asked, What's wrong, Emochen? Big brother Xiao, are you sure you want to return to the Sky Dome realm? Emochen asked. Xiao Chen nodded and said, After 2 months of quiet cultivation, I can already sense my limits from a distance. Right now, I have to be very careful when I cultivate, not daring to raise my cultivation too much. I need to return to the Sky Dome realm before my great tribulation of wind and fire. Chapter 1284. Regardless of whether Xiao Chen cleared his great tribulation of wind and fire or not, he would not have another chance to return. He could only make a trip down before he returned. How long will it take? 1 year, perhaps 2 years. Back then, Xiao Chen only had 2.5 years left to advance to Martial Emperor. He could stay in the Sky Dome realm for at most 2 years. Emochen said seriously, I want to accompany you. I know that Big Brother Shao wants to undergo his tribulation in the Sky Dome realm. I promised you that I would protect you when you undergo your tribulation. Shao Chen smiled and said, Thank you. I thought you were going to say something. I will not undergo my tribulation in the Sky Dome realm. Undergoing a tribulation there is just seeking death. Be it the Thunder King or the Deep Abyss Demon Monarchs, they will not agree to it. Imochen blinked and asked, Really? Shao Chen nodded and said, Really? I'm not lying to you. If I want to undergo my great tribulation of wind and fire, I will definitely undergo it on the Dragon's Gate. It is more stable here. Imochen smiled and said, Right, that is for the best. Let's go. I'll send Big Brother Shao back now. The two flew and soon arrived at the transportation formation on Heavenly Star Island. The superior grade astral cores in the transportation formation were already prepared. Yu Chenxi, Gong Yangyu, and Xianyuan Zhantian had already arrived at the transportation formation. They intended to return with Shao Chen. Shao Chen took a step forward and landed beside the three. He asked casually, Are you sure you want to return with me? There are no cultivation conditions in the Sky Dome realm. Yu Chenxi nodded and said with a smile, I'm sure. I really want to see how my master is doing. I missed the opportunity to return last time. This time, I'm already in the blue-robed Emperor realm. I have to go back. Gong Yangyu said, This is a rare opportunity. If I go back by myself, I don't know if I can gather so many superior-grade astral cores. Xianyuan Zhantian smiled and said, I want to see my father. I have not seen him for many years. I wonder how he will smile when he sees my current strength. When Shao Chen heard Xianyuan Zhantian's words, he felt slightly stunned. On this trip to the Sky Dome realm, he had to formally meet the father who chased him out. Imochen said softly, Take care. The superior grade astral core on the ancient transportation formation started to burn. The light of the formation lines swam around like flames. However, when the formation was fully activated, it instantly gave off a bright light. When the light dissipated, there was no one left on the teleportation formation. Imochen's heart felt empty. Amid flashes of light, Shao Chen's group appeared in the transportation formation of the Great Qin Nation's royal court in the Sky Dome realm. The Great Qin Nation's Princess Ying Yu and a group of old men from the royal court were already waiting outside the transportation formation. Have we reached the Sky Dome realm? After so many years, I am really not used to the spiritual energy here. Gong Yangyu stretched out his hand and sighed. The Sky Dome realm was just a small world materialized from the Sky Dome Immortal Lord's residence during the Immortal epoch. Naturally, it could not compare to a great world like the Kunlun realm. It was not just Shao Chen. Yu Chenxi and Xianyuan Zhantian were also not used to it. On the other hand, Shao Chen was more casual. He mainly used origin essence stones to cultivate. Now that he had more than 20,000 origin essence stones, it was enough for him to cultivate for a long time. As for cultivating primordial energy, there was no difference whether it was in the Sky Dome realm or the Kunlun realm. Furthermore, Shao Chen had come back once before and stayed there for 2 years. He did not need any time to adapt. Brother Shao Chen, I'm returning to the Eastern Sea. I'll say goodbye here first. Xianyuan Zhantian took a deep breath, showing an excited expression. He could not wait to return. Yu Chenxi and Gong Yangyu took their leave at the same time, heading for the Great Jin Nation. After everyone left, Yu stepped forward and asked, How long will you be back this time? You are returning to Mo City, right? Shao Chen nodded. This time, he intended to go to Mo City first before going to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. In that case, go quickly. After being away for more than 10 years, your father must be regretting it now, Yu said gently with a faint smile. The other party's aura had not changed. He was clad in golden battle armor and exuded a noble aura. Shao Chen glanced at the transportation formation behind him and said, Given the royal court's ability, They should be able to send you to the Kunlun realm. Why have you not gone yet? Although traveling between the Sky Dome realm and the Kunlun realm required a large number of superior-grade astral cores, such that even the 9 ranks of the great families could not casually send them there, the Ing clan's strength was sufficient. However, with the Ing clan's strength, they could definitely afford the price. Inyu also had sufficient talent to cultivate in the Kunlun realm. Inyu smiled and took out the longevity lock on her chest. She smiled and said, "Because of this, I am born with a weak physique. If I cannot live past 10 years in the Kunlun realm, I can only extend my life in this small world by relying on the longevity lock." Xiao Chen now understood. The first time he met Inyu, he had noticed this longevity lock. At that time, he had found it strange. She was already an adult, yet she wore a longevity lock. It turned out that there was such a connection. However, when Xiao Chen asked about the reason for her physique, Inyu was not willing to talk about it. She only urged him to go to Mo City quickly. Xiao Chen did not force it. He looked in the direction of Mo City and sent out his spiritual sense. The aura of the Kunlun realm was too strong. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense was obstructed and could not extend it too far. However, there were no obstructions at all in this small world. With his spiritual sense, he could clearly see a small portion of the Sky Dome realm. After all, Xiao Chen's combat prowess was equal to that of a peak Second Heaven Martial Emperor, Emperor Wu. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense quickly located Mo City. Then, he tore space and moved at lightning speed through the spatial tear. After several dozen breaths, he traveled 5,000 kilometers and arrived at Mo City in the blink of an eye. After landing, Xiao Chen thought back to his earlier conversation with Inyu. He regretted not asking about Lu Ryue's situation. Inyu also found it strange. She clearly knew that Xiao Chen had returned, but she did not take the initiative to tell him about Lu Ryue. Never mind, let's not think about this anymore. After returning a few times, Xiao Chen went to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion first. This time, no matter what, he had to return to Mo City first. Furthermore, it was different from his usual observation from afar. He wanted to make a personal trip to the Xiao clan and enter the gates. Xiao Chen did not need to use his spiritual sense to check the terrain of Mo City. It was imprinted in his mind. He walked on the main road like an ordinary person, blending into the crowd and heading for the Xiao clan's residence at the foot of Seven Horn Mountain. Along the way, Xiao Chen discovered that there were many people traveling with him. Based on the discussions of the passers-by, this road seemed to lead to a city and not the Xiao clan's residence. Strange, what's going on? Did I remember the way wrong? Xiao Chen squinted. At the limits of his vision, 50 kilometers away, there was indeed a vast and majestic city. Compared to this city, Mo City was like a simple and crude village. It could not compare at all. However, the direction was not wrong. He could vaguely see the silhouette of Seven Horn Mountain behind this city. Strange, why do I not remember there being a city comparable to a county city so close to Mo City? After not seeing it for 10 years, the vast sea really turned into mulberry fields? Xiao Chen increased his speed. To a regular person, his speed was neither fast nor slow, walking step by step. However, this step covered a kilometer. As he crossed it, he silently left most of the people behind. Xiao Clan City. When Xiao Chen saw the 3 large words on the city gates, he understood. So, this was a city established by the Xiao clan. It looked like the Xiao clan's luck was very good. They had been developing very well in the past few years. Xiao Chen remembered that when he first returned and met Xiao Jian had given him many secret treasures, spirit stones, and secret manuals. These were not considered peak items in the Kunlun realm. However, in the Sky Dome realm, they were extremely rare treasures. They would be of great help to Xiao Chen. Below the city gates, Xiao Chen could not help but feel rueful. He thought back to his time in the Xiao clan. At that time, he had to face the pressure of the Zhang clan and the Tang clan, as well as the eyes of the county city's factions. His days had been much harder than now. "Clan head, please take back your orders. Don't chase second young master away." Plop. The Shao clan disciple with another family name, Yilan, knelt on the ground and pleaded on behalf of Shao Chen. "First uncle, don't chase elder brother Shao Chen away. He is now the hero of our Shao clan." The eccentric Shaoling also knelt on the ground and looked anxiously at the Shao clan's clan head, Shao Xiong. "Clan head, please take back your orders. Don't chase second young master away." The Shao clan disciples, who had undergone experiential training with Shao Chen in Gloomy Forest, knelt together. Shao Yulan, Shao Jian, and the other disciples all knelt down, pleading on behalf of Shao Chen. Shao Xiong's gaze was filled with pain, but he remained unmoved. He chased Shao Chen away. Shao Chen felt like he was dreaming. When he recalled those scenes, it felt like they happened just yesterday. Shao Chen took a deep breath, and his scattered thoughts returned to reality. "I once watched from afar. Today, I can finally walk in openly." Shao Chen scanned the entire Shao clan city with his spiritual sense. Then, he opened his eyes again and pushed off the ground. He soared into the air and disappeared from the city gate. This caused the guards at the city gates to panic. "Seal the city gates. Quickly, go and report to the clan head. A mysterious expert has arrived at Shao clan city." There were even martial saints soaring into the air above the city gates, trying to figure out where Shao Chen was. However, with Shao Chen's strength, how could they find him? Shao clan city. The original Shao clan residence had already been expanded into the city lord's residence. Suddenly, Shao Chen landed in front of the heavily guarded gates of the city lord's residence. He did not even raise a speck of dust. "Who is it?" When the guards at the gates discovered Shao Chen, they immediately shouted coldly. They drew their weapons and formed a team surrounding Shao Chen. The person leading them was a martial saint. He had the appearance of a stern youth. Shao Chen found this person familiar, but he could not recall where he had seen him before. Suddenly, that youth's expression turned somewhat excited. He asked probingly, "Are you second young master?" "Second young master." When the surrounding guards heard this, they were stunned. Their killing intent immediately vanished. Could this person before them be the legendary second young master of the Sky Dome realm? Shao Chen smiled. A certain memory flashed in his mind. "I remember you. Back then, I led a team to Gloomy Forest to hunt for demon cores. You were one of them. However, it has been too long. I can't quite remember your name." "Ha ha ha ha. It really is second young master. I am Shao He." Unexpectedly, second young master still remembers me. This is truly unexpected. Truly unexpected. The stern youth revealed wild joy on his face as he laughed loudly. Shao He turned his head and said, "Quickly greet second young master." Chapter 1285. "Greetings, second young master," the guards said respectfully as they knelt at the same time. Shao Chen smiled and quickly got everyone to stand up. "There's no need to be so polite. Quickly, go and report to the clan head and first young master. Second young master is back. Hurry up," Shao He said excitedly. His speech was somewhat unclear. Immediately, someone rushed to the gates. Shao He said respectfully, "Second young master, come, let's go in. Old master and first young master have been missing you." However, when Shao Chen reached the gates and saw them, he hesitated. "Second young master, what's wrong?" Shao He asked, finding it strange. "Is it because of the homesickness? I have been longing to return for a long time already." However, when the moment finally arrived, when I stood before the gates, Shao Chen hesitated. Smiling self-mockingly, Shao Chen clarified his heart. After hesitating for only a moment, he made up his mind. "Nothing, I was just thinking of some things of the past," Shao Chen said softly. Shao Chen said softly and continued walking forward. Shao He followed behind him, pointing the way. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Finally, Shao Chen crossed the gates. After so many years, Xiao Chen stepped into the Xiao clan once again. When Xiao Chen stepped through the gates, he felt like a knot in his heart had been untied. He felt incredibly relaxed. Actually, after so many years in the Kunlun realm, Xiao Chen already understood his father's painstaking efforts. The Xiao clan's bloodline had been exiled here. They no longer had any capital. Xiao Chen simply did not dare to let a descendant with the blue dragon martial spirit remain in the Xiao clan for the sake of the hundreds of lives of the Xiao clan. Back then, Xiao Xiong had to make the decision to chase away his own son. Actually, Xiao Chen never hated this father of his, just like when Xiao Xiong chased him away. Xiao Chen did not complain much. Instead, he knelt 3 times to thank his father. Each time, he kowtowed until his head bled. Before long, majestic footsteps came from the front. Without even using his spiritual sense, Xiao Chen knew who was coming. Xiao Chen stopped. In mere moments, a group of people met up with him. Xiao Jian took the lead, with Xiao Ling and Yilan at his sides. In the middle of the group was a familiar yet strange face, Xiao Chen's father, Xiao Xiong. When their eyes met, the indelible connection between their bloodlines made Xiao Chen feel a sense of closeness for some reason. He could not help but say, "Father, I've returned." The words "Lord Father" caused Xiao Xiong, a man of steel, to tear up. After more than 10 years, Xiao Chen's temperament had changed greatly. His delicate appearance looked like that of a 17 or 18-year-old boy. "Ha ha ha ha, second young master, you're finally back. Hurry up and come over. Little sister Ling really wants to die." Xiao Xiong did not move. Instead, Xiao Ling and Yilan quickly surrounded him. Everyone was talking at the same time, bombarding him with questions. This group of people did not treat Xiao Chen as the Blue Dragon King. They only treated him as the Xiao clan's second young master, a relative who had not returned for more than 10 years. The strong familial love surrounded Xiao Chen, making him happy and forgetting the worries of the Kunlun realm. "Are you really Xiao Chen's elder brother? Why do you look younger than Ling Er? Quickly prove yourself. Otherwise, I will not let you in." Xiao Ling rejoiced, but she was still as mischievous as before. Xiao Jian lectured, "Stop messing around. Father has not said anything yet." Xiao Xiong revealed a rare smile on his face. "It's good that you're back. Let's have a meal. I already got the servants to prepare it." Xiao Chen nodded and said, "I'll listen to Lord Father." The meeting of father and son was unexpectedly harmonious. The awkwardness that Xiao Chen imagined did not exist before the familial love. This meal was the happiest that Xiao Chen had eaten in many years. In the Kunlun immortal world, he had stayed in many top-notch hotels and eaten all kinds of spirit beast delicacies, but none of them could compare to this place. Putting it on the table, Xiao Chen gave a simple answer to his cousin's questions. Of course, he did not mention the dangers he encountered in the Kunlun realm and the difficulties he faced along the way. The entire Xiao residence was immersed in joy. The return of Xiao Chen made everyone in the residence extremely happy. After the meal, Xiao Jian went to Xiao Chen's room alone and led him to his father's study. "Big brother, have you ever thought of going to Kunlun?" Xiao Chen asked casually on the way. When he returned to the Xiao family, he wanted the Xiao family disciples to bring them to the Kunlun realm. Although he didn't have the luxury to bring all of Xiao Chen's family with him. However, it should not be a problem to bring along 2 or 3 of his closest relatives. He could still afford the consumption of resources. However, the most important question was whether the Xiao family disciples were willing or not. Xiao Jian shook his head and said, "If I had this opportunity 10 years ago, I would have been willing to take the risk. However, I am already in my 30s and have missed the golden age. If I went again, I would not be able to do much." Big Brother seemed to be very rational and did not treat the Kunlun realm as a paradise. Actually, this was what Xiao Chen was worried about as well. After hearing Xiao Jian's thoughts, he did not insist. "Go in by yourself. Father has something to say to you in private," Xiao Jian said in front of the study. After sorting out his thoughts, Xiao Chen pushed open the door and entered the study. Xiao Chen's father, Xiao Xiong, was currently flipping through a book. When he saw Xiao Chen, he put down the book and looked at Xiao Chen in a daze. After a long time, Xiao Xiong put down the book and said softly, "Aside from homesickness, you should have other matters to discuss with me. Tell me about them." After a long time, Xiao Xiong put down the book and said softly, "Aside from homesickness, you should have other matters to discuss. Tell me about them." Xiao Chen answered honestly, "I rebuilt the Dragon's Gate and want to bring in some of the talented children of the Xiao clan." "What?" Xiao Xiong stood up from his chair and walked over to Xiao Chen. He exclaimed in disbelief, his expression extremely shocked. "Were you injured? How did you survive? Why did you rebuild the Dragon's Gate?" A series of questions came out of Xiao Xiong's mouth. The first thing he cared about was whether Xiao Chen was injured or not how strong he was. This made Xiao Chen feel warmth in his heart. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "This child is fine. Even if the minor Heavenly Realm Emperor Wu wants to kill me, this child has a way to deal with it." Comparable to Emperor Wu's strength? Xiao Xiong was shocked once again. After a long time, his eyes became somewhat moist. He said softly, "It looks like I made a mistake back then. I should not have chased you away. I was wrong. It was also because I was not strong enough that you suffered so much." Xiao Chen said seriously, "No, Lord Father, you don't have to blame yourself. After everything that happened in the Kunlun realm, I already understood Father's good intentions. This child is unfilial. I passed by your house a few times but did not enter. I should have returned long ago. I should not have run away." Seeing the tears in his father's eyes, Xiao Chen's heart turned sour. He knelt on the ground and said the words that he had suppressed in his heart for a long time, "This child was wrong. No excuse can be used as a reason to pass by my house and not enter. Father must have been worried about me day and night for the past 10 years. I should have returned long ago." Xiao Xiong could no longer hold back the tears in his eyes. The knot in his heart that he had been brooding over finally opened up with Xiao Chen's words. It turned out that his son did not blame him long ago. After not seeing him for more than 10 years, his son had become an existence comparable to Emperor Wu. "Get up. Quickly get up. I don't blame you. I, Xiao Xiong, have never blamed you. I only hate myself for being helpless. I am not surprised that you have today's accomplishments. It is just that I was so weak back then and could not protect you." Xiao Xiong quickly helped Xiao Chen up. Not letting him kneel on the ground was something he could not bear. Xiao Chen stood up and said, "There is no need. Let this child protect Father and the Xiao clan. I, Xiao Chen, swear that as long as I am around, no one will be able to harm the Xiao clan." Under the lantern light, the father and son chatted for a long time. Unknowingly, the sky slowly brightened. "The Xiao clan has been in exile for a long time. We no longer have any inheritances. Only this ring is passed down from generation to generation. It is also the symbol of the clan head. Today I will pass it to you." Xiao Xiong took off an ancient azure ring and handed it to Xiao Chen, not allowing him to refuse. Xiao Chen checked it and immediately felt an ancient aura spreading out from the ring. This ring was indeed an item from the ancient era. However, he did not sense any energy from the ring. It was like some kind of energy was sealing it, hiding its true nature. "Chen, now that I pass this ring to you, you are now the clan head of our Xiao clan. You probably know the Xiao clan's rules. I will not say much, but I will warn you." Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Right? Father, please speak. Your child will listen." Xiao Xiong said seriously, "Regardless of whether you walk the righteous path or the evil path, I will not blame you. However, remember not to become a second Qing Emperor. Qing Emperor Xiaoting is a sinner of our Xiao clan. This has been passed down from generation to generation." Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. How could there be such a saying? Qing Emperor helped the Dragon's Gate conquer a vast territory, establishing a supreme prestige. Even if the Dragon's Gate was destroyed at his hands, his merits would offset his faults. He would not be a sinner. After all, the Qing Emperor was a member of the Shao clan. Why did the ancestors pass down this saying, using such a serious stance to warn the later generations? Lord Father, why? The Qing Emperor was responsible for the destruction of the Dragon's Gate. However, it was not what he wanted. Why did the ancestors warn the later generations? Shao Chen carefully put away the ring. Then, he looked at Shao Xiong and voiced his doubts. The word sinner was simply too heavy. Not only that, but there was also the need to warn the later generations. Did the Qing Emperor really do something unforgivable? Shao Xiong said gravely, "There are some things that only the clan head can know. Today you are wearing this blue dragon ring, so you are qualified to know. This is the secret of our Shao clan. Remember not to spread it." After Shao Ting became a martial emperor, he actually entered a state of berserking qi deviation and entered the demonic Tao. His temperament changed greatly. For the sake of breaking through Emperor Wu's shackles, he was unscrupulous. Countless people died at his hands, not to mention the experts of the other races. His good friends, lovers, and the master who taught him all died under his saber. When Shao Chen heard this, he was greatly startled. "That's impossible. I once saw the Dragon's Gate's war venerates. When they mentioned the Qing Emperor, they all respected him. They were even more loyal to the Dragon's Gate until death." Chapter 1286. If the Qing Emperor was really such a person, it would be impossible for him to gain so much respect from the entire Dragon's Gate. How could a demon who entered the demonic Tao gain so much respect? Shao Chen knew about the Qing Emperor's tyranny. However, tyranny was one thing. Killing his friends and family, killing his lovers, he had already entered the demonic Tao. Shao Chen could accept a person's tyranny, but he absolutely could not accept such actions. Shao Xiong sighed softly. Secrets are secrets. Naturally, ordinary people do not know about them. Not many people in the Dragon's Gate know about this. In the eyes of the Qing Emperor, the Dragon's Gate was just a chess piece on his path of cultivation. How could he let such secrets leak out? He only entered the demonic Tao and did not lose his intelligence. He even managed to escape the shackles in his heart. His thoughts are even more meticulous than ordinary people's. Shao Chen understood. Back when he entered the demonic Tao, he had heard the old man from the Five Poisons sect mention it. Some people did not lose their rationality after entering the demonic Tao. They even knew how to hide, making them even more difficult to deal with. However, was the Qing Emperor such a person? Shao Chen really could not accept this. For the sake of breaking the shackles in his heart, he killed his lover, his friends, and his teacher. If not for the Dragon's Gate being useful to him, he would have mercilessly attacked the entire Dragon's Gate. For some reason, Shao Chen instinctively did not believe all this. Even if it was true, there had to be another reason. However, Shao Chen's father's words were passed down from generation to generation. It should not be wrong. Furthermore, when Shao Chen was re-establishing the Dragon's Gate, the obstruction he faced, even the various holy lords jumped out. When Shao Chen connected this to his father's words, it was like they were corroborating each other, telling him that the words of his ancestors were correct. Shao Xiong explained, "Don't overthink. It does not matter what the world thinks or what the ancestors of the Shao clan in the Kunlun realm think. You just need to be clear about your own heart. I see the shadow of the Qing Emperor in you. However, your heart of innocence has never changed. Father believes in you." Shao Chen nodded. "I know. I have never thought of becoming the second Qing Emperor. Father, don't worry. Re-establishing the Dragon's Gate is my responsibility as a descendant of the Shao clan. I do not have any ambition. I just want the Dragon's Gate's legacy to continue." A gratified smile appeared on Shao Xiong's face. Which father wouldn't be happy to see his son so capable? Stay here for a few more days. If there are any suitable youths, pick a few and send them up. There is no need to settle everything in one go. Let's take it slow for now. After several hundred years, our Shao family will be able to prosper in the Kunlun realm. After coming out of his father's study, Shao Chen's heart felt heavy. Shao Chen could not help but feel heavy. In the Kunlun realm, he had always considered himself a descendant of the Qing Emperor. Sitting on the roof and looking at the starry sky, Shao Chen thought about the unparalleled existence that swept through the Kunlun realm. It turned out that he was a demon. A book appeared in his hand. It was The Art of Good and Evil Merit. Looking at the black and white cover, Shao Chen did not actually open it. Instead, he thought about some of the clues he knew. That's not right. There are too many doubts in this. Many of them do not make sense. After carefully putting away The Art of Good and Evil Merit, Shao Chen frowned and pondered. Perhaps the only one who knows the truth is the Thunder King. The item spirit in the Blue Dragon Palace should know as well. That old fellow is very mysterious and seems to have a very close relationship with the Qing Emperor. The Thunder King is not easy to see, and he does not have much lifespan left. If Shao Chen really wants to find out more, he will have to make a trip to the Blue Dragon Palace after advancing to Martial Emperor. Shao Chen, why are you thinking so much? You did not come to the lower realms to seek trouble. Come with me. I want to go to Seven Horn Mountain, Ao Jiao said as she came out of the Immortal Spirit Ring. Shao Chen revealed a smile on his face. Since Little Yellow Feather turned into the Golden Crow Egg, he had not seen Ao Jiao speak for a long time. Since Ao Jiao asked, naturally, Shao Chen agreed. Seven Horn Mountain was the place where the Thunder King died. He also wanted to go there. With a few steps, the two arrived at the place where the Thunder King died. The Sky Dome realm did not allow Emperor Wu to descend. However, for a dying person, be it the upper echelon of the Kunlun realm or the Deep Abyss Demon Monarchs, they would not interfere. There were no longer any secrets in the cave. To outsiders, it no longer held any attraction. It had been empty for a long time. Now, it was overgrown with weeds and thorns, completely sealing the entrance. Shao Chen flicked his finger and a saber light flashed. All the weeds turned to dust. As Shao Chen looked at the entrance, he felt deeply moved. This place was the first fortuitous encounter that changed his fate. If Shao Chen had not met Ao Jiao, he might have lost his life in Cheesy County. Without the inheritance that the Thunder King gave him, he would not have been able to walk the path of a bladesman, and he would not have had all his accomplishments in the future. This was the place where Shao Chen's dreams began, as well as the place where his story began. Now that he returned to this place, he could not help but feel a wondrous feeling in his heart. He sighed at the wonders of fate. Ao Jiao, I've always had a question. Why is the restriction of the Thunder King's place of death so simple? Back then, that restriction could only block martial saints. To the current Shao Chen, it was practically negligible. Ao Jiao smiled and said, "You are really silly. You can't even figure this out. If Sang Mu made the restrictions too difficult, he would not be able to do so. If Sang Mu made the restriction too difficult, wouldn't I be sealed here forever, with no one able to free me?" Shao Chen revealed an expression of understanding. It turned out that it was so simple. To think that he could not think of it. Why did the Thunder King choose this place for his death? Sang Mu was a citizen of the great Qin nation in the first place. He was born poor. His parents were just ordinary hunters at the foot of Seven Horn Mountain. He chose to die here only because of his longing for the place. As the two chatted, they recalled some of their earliest memories. Occasionally they would smile. "Do you remember how proud you were back then, always calling me Trash Master?" "Naturally I remember. Back then you were just trash. Furthermore, you were so arrogant and unconvinced. Everyone has been arrogant in their youth. Thinking back, I did indeed show off my abilities, not knowing how to restrain myself. I offended all the noble clans of the great Qin nation. Now that I think about it, that period of time was truly carefree without any worries. The two chatted for a long time at the entrance. Then, Xiao Chen said, "Come, let's go in and take a look." However, Ao Jiao shook her head and said, "There's no need. The memories that this place brought me are long gone. I came here just to reminisce about the past after I left this place." The past after I left this place? Xiao Chen thought about it and understood. Ao Jiao had already walked out of the knot in her heart from the Thunder King's death. "Let's spend the night here, then." The moonlight was very good. Xiao Chen decided to spend the night here, reminiscing about the first time he came to Seven Horn Mountain. In the boundless night, Xiao Chen took off the blue dragon ring. Then, he frowned and started to study it. Given his current eyesight, he could tell that there was a seal in the ring. As for what exactly it was, he needed time to figure it out. If only Imochen were here. Given her talent in formations, it would not be difficult for her. "I really want to know what is hidden in this ring," Xiao Chen muttered to himself. In the Xiao clan city, Xiao Chen set up the 9 iron defense magic formations. He modified the formation plate so that as long as one possessed the Xiao clan's bloodline and the formation plate, they could activate the iron defense magic formations. The original iron defense magic formations required primordial energy to activate. After Xiao Chen modified them, its might naturally weakened. However, the 9 iron defense magic formations had the advantage in numbers. When stacked together, they could block an attack on the level of Emperor Wu. In this Sky Dome realm, they were impregnable, no one could break them. Even if Xiao Chen wanted to break them, he would have to spend a lot of time and primordial energy. Aside from this, Xiao Chen discovered 3 10-year-old youths among the Xiao clan's younger generation. They had pretty good talent and were worth sending to the Kunlun realm to be nurtured. It looked like Xiao Chen's luck had affected the main clan, allowing the Xiao clan to produce 3 young geniuses. The people of Xiao Jian's generation no longer had much room for improvement. To them, the Kunlun realm was not a blessed land. They might as well remain in the Sky Dome realm. After bringing 3 more people back to the Kunlun realm, Xiao Chen would have to spend another 30,000 superior grade astral cores. Even though Xiao Chen was rich and overbearing, he found this somewhat unbearable. No wonder the people of the Kunlun realm did not casually go to the lower realms. 1 month passed. After he finished what he needed to do, Xiao Chen rushed to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion somewhat impatiently. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense detected the presence of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. He immediately tore space and entered a spatial tear, rushing over at lightning speed. There were no obstructions in this spatial tear. A person's speed could be increased infinitely, even faster than lightning. In merely a few breaths, Xiao Chen appeared in the sky above the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Qinyun Peak. He scanned the area with his spiritual sense, but did not discover Lu Ryue. She is not at Qinyun Peak. She probably went out. Xiao Chen did not worry. With Lu Ryue's current strength, she should be able to protect herself in the Sky Dome realm. Xiao Chen did not find Lu Ryue, but he did find Lu Suifeng. This brat had not changed at all. Revealing a smile on his face, Xiao Chen silently appeared behind Lu Suifeng. Lu Suifeng was currently drinking wine in the courtyard, humming a tune in satisfaction. He was clearly in a good mood. Coincidentally, Xinyun has not been around for the past few days. My days have become much more comfortable. Tomorrow I will go to the other peak. Juren Peak seems to have accepted a new female disciple. She is very pretty. I will go to Juren Peak. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. It looked like his wife was very strict with this brother-in-law of his. Suifeng, it turns out that you have such thoughts. When junior sister Xinyun returns, I have to tell her about it. Suddenly, Xiao Chen spoke, deciding to tease Lu Suifeng. Who is it? Lu Suifeng was so startled that he vomited a mouthful of wine. When he turned his head back, he recognized Xiao Chen's appearance. He revealed an expression of extreme joy and said, "Big brother Shao Qin, so it is you. You are back again. Ah, you scared me to death." "Big brother? Didn't Suifeng always call me brother-in-law?" Shao Qin smiled and asked, "Where's your sister?" "My sister?" Lu Suifeng said with some confusion. "Big brother Shao Qin, did you remember wrong? Since when did I have an elder sister?" Boom! The smile on Shao Qin's face froze. It was like he was struck by lightning. He did not dare to believe Lu Suifeng's words.